Welcome everybody, this is the official Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms preview, sneak preview to all of the new cards, full set review, historic style. I won't be going over limited, I won't be going over standard, I might mention it a little bit here and there, but this is going to be a historic, focused set review of the D&D Forgotten Realms set. I'm going to go pretty fast through these to make sure that I'm not taking any additional time, but if you would like to get some additional information as well, you can join my Discord. You can either, if you're watching this on stream, press exclamation point Discord and chat. If you're watching it on YouTube, it'll be in the link down below. I'm going to go ahead and get started now because it's going to take a long time for me. Maybe not for you because you can fast forward, but I can't. We're going to go over this starting right now with +2 mace. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 for equip 3. This card is not very good in historic. This card gets outclassed by a lot of other equipments. The only one that you really have time to play is Embercleave. So I don't see this card being very good in historic, maybe for a limited. HelloGoodGame, how's it going? We talk fast and don't skip class, exactly. Moving on, because we're going to go over this fast, is Arborea Pegasus. It's a 4-mana 2/3 with flying, and this is a battlefield target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying till end of turn. This is more of a limited card. This is not very playable in historic. A card that a deck that would be kind of playable, but not really at all, is maybe like the mono white deck, like a mono white snow aggro deck, but 4 mana is just a lot. Not playable. Blink Dog is a 2 and a white 1/1 for double strike. Has teleport, which is 3 and a white. Blink Dog phases out. So Blink Dog phasing out. Blinking is not really phasing, but we can get the picture. This card is not playable. For a 3 mana 1/1, you can do a lot better. The other dog, this special dog, is a lot better to give your creature indestructible. The Book of Exalted Deeds. It's 3 white legendary artifact. Is a mythic rare. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, make a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. So this does remind us of the 3/3 angel in the Angels deck, that if you gained 4 or more life, or maybe it's 5 life, you get a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. This one is 3 life for a 3/3, so a little bit easier to turn on here. It is 3 white and tap it and exile the Book of Exalted Deeds to put in an enlightened counter on target angel. It gains, you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. Activate only as a sorcery. So we might see the Collected Company Angels decks go into a different direction here with Book of the Exalted Deeds. This actually might turn the Angel Company deck into more of a prison deck. Resplendent Angel is the one that I was talking about. Thank you, Sylvia Bible and y'alls in chat. It might drop the green for this, but maybe not. This becomes a new prison archetype in historic. I think this definitely will be played. This will increase the play of cards like Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter. And other land destruction cards in historic, because this will be put on a Faceless Haven, because Faceless Haven is an angel. I have spent a lot more time with this card than usually in the further along in this thing, because I do really think that this card creates a new archetype in historic. I think this card either goes into the Angels deck as it is, replacing a couple cards as a 1 or a 2 of, to make a lock on your opponent and make 3/3s. But it also might just make a whole new deck on its own, so we'll see. This also increases the value of cards like Abrade and things like that. We might be seeing more of that card in historic, so I think this really does create a new archetype. So watch out for this card. Moving on, Celestial Unknown, 2 and a white for a 3/2. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Celestial on Unicorn. I don't know why I said unknown, it's definitely a unicorn. This card will not be playable in historic. There's cards that do this, but way better. This is basically not good in historic. Let's go ahead and move on. If this was 1 mana, and it was like a 1 mana 2/1, then when you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it, it would be insane. But it's 3 mana, it's a 3/2, so it's a little bit too inefficient. Cleric class is a 1 mana. If you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. This is one of the new card types called classes. How this works, if you're not familiar with classes, is when you pay the mana value on the top right of the card, you get to trigger the first thing, similar to a saga. This is like a saga, but you have to pay additional mana to move up the different levels. So it's like a level card and a saga mixed together. So if you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. When it enters the battlefield, you get that ability. And it stays there like an enchantment. Level 2, you have to pay 3 and a white to turn that one on. And whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. And then, level 3 is, you pay 4 and a white, so 5 mana total. When this class becomes level 3, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its toughness. Hold on 1 second while I ban someone in chat. Nice, this is a ban stream now. Alright. What do I think about this card? It's 1 mana for the first one, and it says whenever you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1. This might actually go into like a mono-white life gain angels deck. This might actually go into that deck. Maybe it's bad because Soul Sisters is, or Soul Warden might be better than this card, but maybe this goes in place of another card in the deck. Maybe you go like 3 Soul Warden, 2 or 3 of this card. But it does take 4 mana to go to level 2 whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it. So this might be like a cheeky one-of, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is playable in Historic. I did already go over Book of Exalted Deeds, Triple J. Cloister Gargoyles, a 2 and a white for a 0/4. Whenever a Cloister Gargoyle enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. If you've never heard of the dungeon mechanic, we'll go over it later on when we look at the dungeon cards at the end of this. So please make sure to stay till the end of the video to find out what the dungeon is. As a general thing, before you actually read the dungeon cards, there's 3 different dungeons that you can enter, and every time it says enter the battle, every time it says venture into the dungeon, that text, you either go into the dungeon for the first time if you haven't entered one yet, or if you're already in a dungeon, you progress 1 layer through the dungeon, 1 path through the dungeon, and you get to choose that, and we'll look at that later. So when it enters the battlefield, you venture into the dungeon, and it's, as long as you've completed the dungeon, Cloister Gargoyle gets +3/+0 and has flying. I really like the flavor of this card, but as a 3 mana 0/4, it's not playable in Historic. Dancing Sword is a 2 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. When equipped creature dies, you may have Dancing Sword become a 2/1 construct artifact creature with flying and ward 1. If you do, it isn't an equipment for equip 1. So what does this mean? This is kind of like a living weapon without it being a living weapon. You have to equip it to something first before it becomes a 2/1. But it is a really nice idea. But 3 mana to get a 2/1 and then a 2/2 with ward 1 is a little too inefficient for Historic. I don't think this is playable in Historic. If it was, it would be in place of like Maul of Skyclaves, but Maul of Skyclaves still isn't even playable. So I think this doesn't make the cut in Historic. Dawnbringer Cleric is a 2 mana 1/3. When Dawnbringer Cleric enters the battlefield, choose one. You can either cure wounds. You'll see throughout this, if this is your first time looking at the Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms set review, you'll see there's these little keywords like Cure Wounds, Dispel Magic, and Gentle Response. These aren't actual keywords in the set. They are more of a like flavor text words. So usually clerics in Dungeons & Dragons, if you played before, cures wounds or dispels magics or you know, has a gentle response to certain different things in Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder if you played that as well. So you can either choose one of these 3 options. You can either cure wounds to gain 2 life, you can dispel magic to destroy target enchantment, or you can gentle response. It's not even response, it's repose. Why did I say response? I don't know. Exile target card from a graveyard. This is actually pretty interesting. I don't think it's playable in Historic other than in a very specific meta in a Collected Company deck. So maybe this finds a spot in the green-white company deck. If enchantments become a huge thing. Maybe with class cards coming into, as we just read Cleric class from a couple minutes ago. Maybe that card, maybe class cards become relevant enough to where you want to play this in the sideboard. It also exiles cards from the graveyard, so it's very versatile. I can see this card making its way into Historic sideboards, but not into the main deck. Based on specific metagames. I don't see it being played at first, but maybe it makes its way in there. We have this card here. Whoops. We have this card here, which is Excavation Torch. It's 1 and a white, and its equipment says equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, venture into the dungeon. So this is one of the other dungeon cards that you can venture into and allow you to venture into the dungeon every time it attacks. Unfortunately, I don't think the dungeon mechanic is going to be very playable in Historic, and 1 white for an equipment is not good enough. So moving on, we have this card here, which is a 4 and a white for a 4/4 called Devoted Paladin. It is an Orc Knight. It says, Beacon of Hope. When Devoted Paladin enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 and Vigilance until end of turn. This kind of effect, this Anthem effect that only lasts 1 turn, is not playable in Historic. The 5 mana slot is just crazy for an aggro deck. No one ever plays 5 mana cards, especially because they're more Collected Company decks. And this card you cannot Collected Company for. If you could Collected Company for this card, maybe it's playable, but it doesn't even have flying or anything like that, or even Vigilance. So it gives your board +1/+1 in Vigilance, though, but this is not playable in Historic. Divine Smite is an instant, 1 and a white. Target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls phases out. If that permanent is black, exile it instead. So a 1 and a white instant speed exile for black cards, this probably gets played. And it's probably better than the sorcery speed version we got from M21, or I think it was M21 or M20. I think it was M20 actually. I don't remember the card that we got from M20 that's similar to this card. Let me see if it shows us what the card name was in this thesaurus. There is no thesaurus for this card. Nice. I forgot what the card name is, but you can exile a card that is red or black and scry 1. Another color hate card from M20, but this card is an instant speed. And it also targets planeswalkers. So this card is a must include in sideboards in white cards, especially because cards like Knight of the Ebon Legion, Death Shadow, different things like that are black cards. We have Rotting Regisaur in the format. We have a bunch of different cards that care about being exiled, not only care about being exiled for 2 mana. It's similar to Devout Decree, as you're saying, Triple J and Flat and Jack. Devout Decree is the card I was thinking about. But this card is being instant speed, and it just says, even if it's not black, right? Even if you just phase out a creature out of combat, it's still probably okay. Just to let you like live for a turn, even if your opponent's playing a deck that's not black, but it's like black and another color, like a black-green deck, for instance. Like maybe you're playing this for Rotting Regisaur, but you know a huge 5/4 is attacking you, or a Ronus is attacking you or something, and you just want to phase it out to save 5 damage. It's still playable, and then you can get that Rotting Regisaur and exile it, or maybe it's even a black planeswalker like you know, I forgot, like Liliana or something like that. You can just exile it for 2 mana and instant speed, which is very, very good. I can see this card being a sideboard 1 of, 2 of, maybe possibly even 3 of if black cards become super insane in Historic, but I can see it being a 1 or 2 of sideboard card in Historic, so very, very good card. Dragon's Disciple is a 2 mana 1/3. As Dragon's Disciple enters the battlefield, you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. If you do, or if you control a dragon, I like that. I like that they do that in this format. I mean, in this set. If you have one in your hand, or if you control a dragon, right? Dragon's Disciple enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. I like cards like this because it says dragons you control have ward 1. I like cards like this, but I would really like it if it said dragons cost 1 less to cast. There's a lot of cards like this that are for like dinosaurs that says dinosaurs cost less to cast. I believe there is a dragons one in Historic, but I'd be interested to see if there is a like dragon archetype centered around like playing 4 of this. But as a 2 mana 2/4, I would assume this thing has flying, but it's a human monk. I don't think this is playable. Dragons have ward 1, yes. I don't think this is playable. Maybe someone can find a deck with it, but for now, I would say not playable in Historic. Dwarfhold Champion is a 2 mana 3/1. As long as Dwarfhold Champion is equipped, it gets +0/+2. This is not Historic playable. If it had Indestructible or a way to make it indestructible, it would be really good, but I don't think this is good. It would become a 3/3 for 2 mana, and we already have Isamaru in the format, and no one plays that, so. We have Flump, which is a 2 mana 0/4 Defender Flying. Whenever Flump is dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. I don't know if this card's good. Maybe it's in some kind of combo deck. Maybe it's better than I think, but Defender and Flying seems a little bit weird. But it is in Dungeons and Dragons. But I'm pretty sure it's just like a commander card or something. You can play this in like a dinosaur deck and do a bunch of damage to your own creatures and have players draw cards, but I don't think this is playable. I don't even think it has a home in anything. Gloomstalker. 2 and a white for a 2/3. As long as you completed a dungeon, Gloomstalker has double strike. This is very good in like limited or standard. I don't think it's playable in historic because I don't think cards are powerful enough for the dungeon mechanic in historic, but I could be wrong. Usually the cards with the dungeon mechanic are very high on rate. Not high on rate, but too much mana for their stats. Like, if this is a 3 mana like 4/3, I could see it. Or like a 3 mana 3/4, maybe I could see it. But 3 mana 2/3 is just very bad for historic. At 3 mana, you want to be like, you know, you want to collect a company into something like this, but I don't think that's good enough. A Grandmaster of Flowers is a 4 mana, 3 loyalty, 2 and a white, 2 and 2 white, legendary planeswalker Bahamut. As long as Grandmaster of Flowers has 7 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 7/7 dragon god creature with flying and indestructible. The flying and indestructible part of this is insane. You can pair this with other planeswalkers like the 3 mana Simic Kasmina to make this get a +2 instead of a +1 to make it a 7/7 faster. I don't think this ever gets to 7 loyalty in historic. There's just too many things that can attack this thing down. I could see it getting to 7 loyalty in control like mirror matches or like sideboard this in against control. Vorinclex gives this 6 loyalty, but even then that's not 7. You can play Vorinclex and then you can play Grandmaster and then plus the Grandmaster, then it becomes a 7/7. But like maybe this goes in like the sideboard of some kind of ultimatum deck, but the ultimatum decks aren't even that good either. +1, target creature without first strike, double strike, or vigilance can't attack or block until their next turn, which is pretty good. Reminds me of the 3 mana Gideon that says things can't deal damage. In the +1, the other +1 is search a library for a graveyard for a card named Monk of the Open Hand, reveal it, and put it in your hand. If you search a library this way, shuffle. We're going to read Monk of the Open Hand right now instead of going throughout the list. It's right here. Monk of the Open Hand, 1 mana, 1/1, Flurry of Blades. Whenever you cast, or Flurry of Blows, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Monk of the Open Hand. So, I can see this card being in like the mono white snow deck. You play this on turn 1, you play a couple more 1-drops on turn 2, this becomes a 1 mana 2/2, and you keep casting multiple spells per turn, and make Monk of the Open Hand pretty strong. This is worse than a card like Leonin Warmaster, I think it's called. Leonin Warleader, something like that. Or any of your other prowess creatures. But maybe it goes with Grandmaster of Flowers if you're playing it. Maybe as a one-of to go ahead and fetch it up if you're playing Grandmaster of Flowers. Talk fast about a card if you can hear us. No, I'm reading everything I'm reading everything you're saying. I'm just ignoring Rumpty because it's fun to ignore Rumpty. Yeah, exactly. Moving on. All in all, I don't think there's a place for Grandmaster of Flowers. I would like for it to be playable in historic. I just don't think it is. At 4 mana, you want to play something like way better, like a Chandra Torch of Defiance, or 4 mana Planeswalkers usually aren't very playable in historic, but it's usually like 3 and then 5. Guardian of Faith is a 1 and 2 white 3/2 with Flash and Vigilance. Now, Flash and Vigilance, that's something to read. When Guardian of Faith enters the battlefield, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. Wait, hold on? Excuse me? I might need to read this again. 3 mana 3/2, Flash Vigilance. Whenever it enters the battlefield, any number of target creatures you control phase out. Did I just read that correctly? Hold on, I need to take a drink. This reminds me of the 4 mana white rare from last set, or 2 sets ago, that when it enters the battlefield, you get to exile all your cards under it, and then when that dies, they all come back. As like a sweeper insurance, but that one's only 3 mana when you foretell it, so it becomes 5 in total. This one's just 3 mana flat out. This you can collect a company into in response to a Wrath of God, and your whole board phases out. This dies on your turn. They come back. Hello? I mean, this card is a bomb. Wait. I might be reading this card wrong, but it also has Flash itself and Vigilance. And okay, the only thing this card's missing is flying, but it's a Spirit Knight. Or you can just flash this into a Wrath. You can just put your field on the board and then just never do anything else. Just keep attacking, and then when they go Wrath, you just flash Guardian of Faith, and then easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That's like insane. Okay, this is I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5 in Historic for white-based Collected Company decks. Green-White Company just got better. It might be just a sideboard card, but I wouldn't be surprised if it made itself into a main deck. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5. Half Elk Monk, 3 and a white for a 1/4 Vigilance, Stunning Strike, 1 and a white, and tap target creature by tapping its Half Elf Monk. This is not playable in Historic. 4 mana is too much. Every kind of white creature, you have to ask yourself, can you Collected Company into this? And if the answer is no, then it's not playable. Icing Death, unless it's in like a Boros mid-range deck, like something like I play. Icing Death Frost Tyrant is a 4 mana 4/3. Flying Vigilance. Whenever Ice Death Frost Tyrant dies, whenever Icing Death Frost Tyrant dies, create Icing Death Frost Tongue, a legendary white equipment artifact token. That's a lot of words. With equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls, and equip 2. This card's not playable. It might be playable if it had like 3 other keywords. I mean, Flying Vigilance is still good, don't get me wrong. But the decks that are going to want this don't care about equipments. The decks that want this in Historic are like... this card's not good in Historic. Ingenious Smith. 2 mana 1/1. When Ingenious Smith enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put them in your hand. To put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever one or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Ingenious Smith. This ability triggers only once each turn. This card's not playable in Historic. 2 mana 1/1 is really bad. Looking at the top 4 to reveal an artifact from among them will probably only be played if you're playing the Book of Exalted Deeds deck. So if you're playing a combo deck like this, maybe it becomes a deck, and this card is a thing, and then you actually do want something like Ingenious Smith. But if that, like, Ingenious Smith would be a pretty good card in that deck if you're playing it. Probably, maybe. But I'm going to give this a 0 out of 5. We have this card here, which I can't read if that's Spanish or Portuguese. Pretty sure it is Spanish. But it's 1 and a white for a 2/1. You have Hexproof. Opponents cannot venture into the dungeon more than once per turn. That's hilarious. I mean, you have Hexproof. The only thing that you really want this for is for... like, Thoughtseize type effects. Like, you have Hexproof. How is that relevant if you're a white deck? You really only care about your creatures dying. So, I'm going to say this card is not playable. Loyal Warhound is a 2 mana 3/1. Vigilance. I mean, that's pretty good. Whenever a Loyal Warhound enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic Plains card, put it onto the battlefield Wait, is this a white ramp card? It saves you from getting nuked by the 20 damage dragon? We haven't got over that yet, but we will. So, is this a white ramp card? Is what I'm saying. Wait, since when does white ramp? Color pie broken. The color pie, you can kiss it goodbye. So, you just play this in your white deck, and then if you happen to be on the draw, you get like a free freaking land? Well, that's pretty good. And it's a 3/1? I mean, that's not bad. That is all upside. And it's a 2 mana 3/1 Vigilance already? And it's a freaking dog. Yo, this is going to my Boros midrange deck. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe the ramp isn't worth it if you don't have huge cards, but like, I mean, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 in Historic. I'm gonna say it's played. I'm not gonna say it's that good, but I'm gonna say it's playable and maybe played. Minimus Containment is a 3-mana enchant non-land permanent. It's an aura. Enchant permanent is a treasure artifact. So you just turn something into a treasure token? That's hilarious. So you just turn your opponent's other card into a treasure token. I mean, it's good for limited, but it's really bad for historic. Monk of the Open Hand, we already went over that. Moon Blessed Cleric, 3-mana 3/2. Divine Intervention. When Moon Blessed Cleric enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, and then shuffle it and put it on top. I mean, this is pretty good in the prison deck. Like, this is really good in that prison deck. Like, really good. Like the mono white prison deck with that says creatures can't attack you or deal damage to you. I mean, this card probably goes into that deck. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 because it only goes into that deck, but it's pretty good in 9 lives. I would definitely. This is definitely a playable in 9 lives. It's 3 mana, which is the same amount of mana as Solemnity and 9 lives, but it literally gets you Solemnity or 9 lives, whichever one you're missing. Which is, like, insane. This card's probably played. And it's just a 3/2 blocker until you get to that point. Like, at a 3-mana 3/2, it's not like anything crazy. But it still blocks Gruul Spellbreaker as a 3/3. It still blocks, like, Big Pelt Collectors, like, as a 3/3. Like, it's gonna be a 3/3 on turn 3, maybe. It still blocks, Voltaic Brawlers. Like, the fact that it's just a blocker and helps you not die before you assemble your combo is pretty good. And it's also a playable card against control decks when the 9 lives combo isn't that good. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 in that deck, but 0 out of 5 in any other deck. Nadar, Selfless Paladin, is a 3-mana 3/3 Vigilance. Alright, it's already a good rate. Whenever Nadar, Selfless Paladin enters the battlefield or attacks, venture into the dungeon. Enters or attacks. Alright, that's probably the best dungeon card we've seen. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as you completed a dungeon. I'm gonna say this card is not playable in Historic, but very insane in Standard if dungeon ever becomes a thing. But unplayable in Historic. Like, if this affected the board in any way, then maybe it would be playable, but it doesn't do anything to the board. Like, if it did 1 damage to something, or if it did, like, literally anything else, gives one of your creatures a 1/1 counter, it would be very good. But it doesn't do anything. Let's go ahead and read this card. Oswald Fiddlebender. 1 and a white for a 2/2, Gnome Artificer. You can tap it and pay a white mana and sacrifice an artifact. That's a lot of things to do. Search for an artifact whose mana value is equal to the mana value of sacrifice artifact +1, then put it onto the battlefield. Okay. Okay, so this is Birthing Pod for artifacts? So you can play this in, like, a white-based version of Paradoxical Outcome or any kind of other combo deck like that in like, your Emery deck. So you can sacrifice a 4-mana artifact for your artifact that untaps all the things when you pay mana. What's the 5-mana artifact that lets you untap all of your non-land permanents when you cast a spell? I forgot the name of that card. But, like, yeah, Paradox Engine. I think this card's playable in Paradox Engine. Like, this card's definitely really good in that deck. Especially since you can sacrifice... You can just sacrifice your artifact and you just put the other one on the battlefield and then sacrifice your next one and then you get Paradox Engine for free. You can play Ichor Wellspring, yeah. And you can draw a card of Ichor Wellspring. Like, play this card, and then you can play Wellspring, and then play a land. Tap this, sacrifice the land, sacrifice the Wellspring, draw an additional card, and then get a 3-mana artifact. I mean, I'm gonna say this is like a 1 or 2 of in those artifact decks, or maybe even a 3 of it if it's that good. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 in the Paradox Engine deck. It's going to be a 0 out of 5 everywhere else, I think. But very good in that deck specifically. Could find a home in like an artifact deck, but or like a not artifact deck, like a equipment deck, but probably not. Paladin class. Spells your opponent's cast during your turn cost 1 more to cast. Wow. And that's the first one? That's pretty good against control. I can see this being a sideboard card already. Creatures get +1/+1. Wow. It's a 1-drop. Level 3 is whenever you attack until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature against double strike? Excuse me? I mean, Thalia is just different. Thalia is really good against cards like, against decks like Phoenix, where they play on their own turn. This is specifically spells your opponent's cast during your own turn. But this is basically just... This is like I think this is like a better and worse Thalia, depending on the way you look at it. Like, you can't Collected Company into this. So, like, you'd have to play this card in a deck that isn't playing Collected Company, or you're going to have to, like, play this in your Collected Company deck and hope you don't whiff company. But it's a good sideboard card. Especially if you're playing against a counterspell deck. Really good. Alright, moving on. I'm going to give Paladin class a 3.5 out of 5 in Historic. I think it's very playable. I think it's in niche decks, and I think you might not want to play it in Collected Company decks, so I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Paladin Shield is a 2-mana flash equipment. When Paladin Shield enters the battlefield, attach it to the target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +0/+2. Equip 3. So it's like a combat trick that's also an equipment that also just becomes an equipment when your creature dies. I'm going to say this is not playable in Historic. Combat tricks are, in general, not playable in Historic. Planar Ally. 5-mana 3/3 Flyer. When it attacks, venture into the dungeon. This card is not playable in Historic. You might as well play Baneslayer Angel in the dungeon. Probably doesn't matter. Plate Armor. 3-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has Warp 1. Equip 3. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each other equipment you control. +3/+3 and Warp 1 is pretty strong, but I don't think this is better than Maul of the Skyclaves, so in Maul of the Skyclaves still isn't even played. We have Portable Hull. It's a 1-mana artifact. We started with White Rumpty, yeah. 1-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value 2 or less till Portable Hull leaves the battlefield. Wait, exile any non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. And it's an artifact? Okay, this is just better than Glass Casket, then. I mean, this is a 1-drop. And Glass Casket and... I mean... Is this better than, what's the 2-mana enchantment that does this too? The one that gives the opponent a 3/3 trample when it dies? It might be even better than that. Is this better than Baffling End? It says non-land permanent. Yeah, Baffling End banishes for good. I understand that. But it can also go into the, like, it can also go into the Oswald deck as just like a fetchable card to get. Or not, it's not fetchable. Wait, does this card say equal to or less? No, it doesn't. Equal to or more. I mean, you could still play it, but Ornithopter? Just Ornithopter sacrificing a Portable Hull? I guess. But I think Portable Hull is definitely a very, very good card in Historic. It exiles, like, the 2-mana little 2-mana creatures, Dreadhorde Arcanist, Kroxa, Death Shadow, just, like, also Adanto Vanguard, all the Auras cards. Man. Okay, the more I think about this card, the more I think it's, like, really strong. Really strong. It exiles the classes. Yeah, this is. If this card's better than Baffling End, it's gonna be a 4.5 out of 5 in Historic. It's gonna be like played in every deck that plays Baffling End over Baffling End, and that's like pretty good. Very playable in Historic. I think it's very good. It will be played. Potion of Healing, 2-mana artifact. When it enters battlefield, draw a card, and then you can pay a mana and sack it to gain 3 life. So this is very similar to Golden Egg, but this is only playable in white decks. This is almost the same exact card as Golden Egg, but this is slightly better if you're playing white. So if you're playing a white-based Doom Foretold deck, then sure, play this. But it's not tier 1 or anything. Priest of Ancient Lore, 3-mana 2/1, and when it enters battlefield, you gain a life and you draw a card. This is similar to the 4-mana 2/3 that gains 3 life and draws a card, except for this is in white and the other one is an Azorius card and the other one has flying. I don't think this card's playable. Rally Maneuver, 3-mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike till end of turn. Up to one of the target creature gets +0/+2 gains lifelink to end of turn. This unfortunately is not playable because we already have cards that do similar to this, things to this, and it's also 1 mana, and that card's not even played, which is Fight as 1. And this card's much worse than Fight as 1, so I'm going to say unplayable in Historic. Ranger's Hawk is a 1-mana 1/1, flying 3 mana, tap on the untapped creature you control, and you venture into the dungeon. This card is unplayable. This is a Healer's Hawk that does a lot of things for a lot of more mana, and Healer's Hawk is not playable in Historic. Steadfast Paladin, 2-mana 2/2 lifelink. This card is unplayable in Historic because it doesn't do anything else. Teleportation Circle is a 4-mana rare enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. There's already a better card than this, and that is the blue god creature enchantment thing, and no one plays that either. So I don't think this is playable. It does work with, it is a Thassa, but the Thassa doesn't work with artifacts. This works with artifacts. Why you would want to blink an artifact? I mean, Ichor Wellspring exists, but I don't think this is playable. It's just too clunky. If this was 2 mana, it still might not even playable, but maybe it's playable at 2 mana, but I don't see this card being good. This card here, Veteran Labyrinth Explorer, is a 3 and a white for a human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, enter into the dungeon. This is one of the other dungeon cards. I don't think the dungeon mechanic, as the creatures currently are, that facilitate with dungeon, are playable in Historic. So no. White Dragon is a 6-mana 4/4 uncommon flying dragon. Cold Breath. When White Dragon enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls, and it doesn't untap Dragon's controls. Snaps untap. This will be in a really sweet 5-mana or 5-color dragon deck in Standard, but unplayable in Historic. You hear something on Watch. 2-mana instant, choose 1, rouse the party. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn, or you can set off the traps. To have this spell deal 5 damage to target attacking creature. Dealing damage or exiling attacking creatures is not something that's playable in Historic. The only way it's playable is with the Fairy Hero of Dominaria in control decks, and you're not going to want to use the creatures you control get 1/1 until end of turn for something like that. It could be in like a super go wide deck, like the mono white artifacts deck, but I still don't see this card being playable in that. Maybe it's a sideboard one of in that deck, but I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 in Historic for maybe a little tiny bit potential. But there's better cards than this. You're ambushed on the road. 1-mana instant, choose 1. Make a retreat, return target creature you control to its owner's hand, or you can stand and fight to have target creature get +1/+3 till end of turn. This is a little bit better than the card we saw before, but I don't think this card's playable because, once again, we have Fight as 1, which is much better than this. Aberrant Mind Sorcerer is a 5-mana 3/4 with psionic spells, is how you pronounce that. When Aberrant Mind Sorcerer enters battlefield, choose target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, then roll a d20. This is the first of the d20 cards, is a theme in the D&D set. I mean, why have a D&D set if you're not rolling d20s, right? 1 through 9, you may put that card at the top of your library, or 10 through 20, return that card to your hand. This card is not good. Why would you play this when you could play, I don't know, any other card that does something better than this? Friends gonna see if they can reserve a kit for Friday as well. I've reserved my kit, so I'm happy as this will be in real life. Nice, Odd Eyes. Good to hear. I don't think Aberrant Mind Sorcerer is playable in Historic. Air Cult Elemental is a 6-mana 2/5 flying whirlwind. When Air Cult Elemental enters the battlefield, return up to one other target creature to its owner's hand. This card is not good at all. Being a 2/5 flyer is not good unless it was a 3-mana card. If this card was 3 mana, it would be playable because at least you can collect a company into it and bounce something, but it's 6 mana. Holy crap, this is beyond unplayable in Historic. Arcane Investigator is a 2-mana 2/1, search the room. You can pay 5 in a blue to roll a d20. 5 in a blue? Alright, Kinnan is much better than this. 1 through 9 to draw a card. 10 through 20, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This card is not playable in Historic. Bar the Gate. 3-mana instant, counter target creature or planeswalker spell, venture in the dungeon. Huh. Interesting. It specifically counters a creature or a planeswalker. We've seen another card like this before, but this one also ventures into the dungeon. It's not playable because why would you play this when you can play Memory Lapse? I did not see the Blue Eyes White Dragon yet. We're going to go over them. Oh wait, no, I did see the White Dragon. This is basically Blue Eyes White Dragon, yeah. I agree. The Black Staff of Waterdeep is a 1-mana legendary artifact. You may choose not to untap the Black Staff of Waterdeep during your untap step. So I'm assuming this card taps itself. Animate Walking Statue. 1 in a blue to tap it to have another target non-token artifact you control. Become a 4/4 artifact creature for as long as the Black Staff of Waterdeep remains tapped. Activate only as a sorcery. Huh. It's a 1-mana artifact. And it animates things as 4/4s. But it can only animate 1 4/4 at a time. But then when that 4/4 dies, you just pick another artifact and you animate that as a 4/4. I mean, there are no artifact, morphing into 4/4 decks in Historic yet, but this might make one of those playable. There's like a couple other cards that also make your artifacts 4/4s or 5/5s. So like maybe it makes it more playable, but since this is legendary, it being 1 mana is the thing that I'm thinking about, but it being legendary, I don't know, I don't think this card's playable. But like maybe Karn gets this out of a blue-based sideboard and you can play it to make your stuff 4/4s. Maybe. Probably still not playable when you could get something already that's better than this card, like Heart of Kirin, if you wanted to play that. So I'm going to say this is unplayable. Blue Dragon. 7-mana 5/5 Flyer Lightning Breath. When Blue Dragon enters the battlefield until your next turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-0, up to one other target creature gets -2/-0, and up to one other target creature gets -1/-0. This is 7 mana. I'm going to say it's unplayable. Charmed Sleep, 3-mana enchant creature. We've seen a card like this before. It's unplayable in Historic because all it does is say it can't untap. Or it's untap step and is meant for drafting. Clever Conjurer is a 3-mana 2/3 Mage Hand. Tap it to untap target permanent not named Clever Conjurer. Oh, they did this to like get around like infinite combos. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, so this card's not playable. There's cards that do way better things than this. Contact, and they're also still not playable. Contact Other Plane is a 4-mana instant, roll a d20. Oh my gosh. 1 through 9 is draw 2 cards. So at the very least, this is 4-mana draw 2. Which is like a pretty good very least effect. If you roll 10 through 19, you scry 2, then draw 2. So this is basically just the Foretell card that does this. If you roll 10 through 19. So medium. And then you can scry 3, then draw 3 if you roll nat 20. I mean, the odds that you're rolling nat 20 is like 5%. So like, on the 5% chance this is better than Scry 2 Draw 2, it's much better just to play the other card that just Scry 2's Draw 2's for 4 mana instant anyway. So I'm going to say this card's unplayable in Historic. Demi-Lich is a 4 blue, 4/3. 4 blue, you don't see that converted mana cost or mana value every day. Creature Skeleton Wizard. This spell costs 1 blue less to cast for each instant and sorcery you've cast this turn. Okay. Without reading any of the other text, you cast a Brainstorm. Okay, and then you cast a Faithful Saluting, and you discard this card. Am I getting this right? And then already this card's 2 mana. So it kind of reminds me of the 5 mana 3/3 that has prowess that scries to. It's very similar to that card. Stormwing Entity. Will this card be played over Stormwing Entity? If it does something like that, we'll see. Let's keep reading. Whenever Demilich attacks, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Copy it. You may cast the copy. Okay, whenever it attacks. Okay, that's not as relevant because this card is probably going to die immediately. But this has a similar type effect as Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is if anyone's played with Dreadhorde Arcanist, that card's insane. And this also doesn't have an attack power requirement either, so you can exile like whatever you want and cast it. You may cast Demilich from your graveyard by exiling 4 instant and/or sorceries from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. Wait, you can also just cast this from the grave? Oh, wait. So it's a Stormwing Entity, but it's Stormwing Entity as if you can still discard Stormwing Entity and still cast it from the grave. But you do have to exile your graveyard, basically, to do this. So basically has Delve. Triple J in chat says, discard 2 Phoenixes, cast another Faceless Looting, discard 2 more Phoenixes, play another Faceless Looting, discard 2 of this, play this from grave for free, get back 4 Phoenixes, profit. Yeah, if you do cast 4 spells, if it's later on in the game, you do get this for literally free, right? It doesn't say anything about this on the card that this card cannot be free. So, if you cast 4 instances of sorcery for a turn, which is not really that difficult if you're playing Brainstorms into Ops, into Expressive Iterations, into stuff, you get this for free by exiling 4 instant and or sorceries from your graveyard. I mean, this card seems bonkers. I mean, this card might make Phoenix like tier 0. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5 in Historic. I think this card's bonkers. But I think it's only played in Phoenix. Displacer Beast. Oh, it's still free from hand too, even if you don't discard it. Wow, yeah, that card's insane. Displacer Beast is a 3 mana 3/2 when it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. Okay. Displacement. Pay 3 and a blue to return Displacer Beast to its owner's hand. This is pretty cool. It's pretty nifty. It's pretty, you know, Double Team-esque if you're familiar with Pokemon, but unplayable in Historic. Ginny Windseer is a 4 mana 3/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, roll d20. You can do scry 1, scry 2, or scry 3 depending on the roll. This is really good in limited, but I think it's unplayable in any other format. Besides, like, maybe Pauper. Dragon Turtle is a rare, a 3 mana 3/5, 1 and 2 blue. This has to compete with a lot of cards, though. Has to compete with Brazen Borrower, has to compete with the squid that draws cards when it deals damage, so let's go ahead and read what it does. It has Flash, just like the Octopus does. Drag Below, when it enters the battlefield, tap it, and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls, they don't untap during their next untap steps. I mean, I can see this card being played in like Mono Blue, or like a Blue-Green Company deck, or like a Bant Company deck, or maybe like a Spirits deck, but this is not even a Spirit. It's a 3/5 though, which is insane. I missed that it had 5 toughness. But Dragon Turtle also doesn't untap. Like, the fact that both creatures don't untap is, like, kind of weird. ETB, tap it and up to 1 target creature in opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. So if you collected company into this, and then you tap their creature and tap this, you go to your turn and it triggers to not untap, and then on your opponent's turn, their opponent's creature doesn't untap, and then yours untaps. So I actually think this card's really good. I think this card's really good in Mono Blue or like some kind of blue-based company deck that they board this in creature matchups. I think this is really good in those decks. I think it'll be played. But not saying that those decks are playable either, but it'll be played in those decks, and based on the fact that blue-based company decks aren't really that good, because why would you do that when you can play Phoenix? This card's going to be a 2.5 to 3 out of 5 for me, because it's playable in those decks, but those decks aren't that good, so that means this card's not that good. Eccentric Apprentice. 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Whenever it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've completed a dungeon, up to one target creature becomes a bird, with base power and toughness 1/1 and flying till end of turn. So this both helps your own creatures, maybe, or nerfs your opponent's creatures. Not playable in Historic, though. Fey Wild Tricksters, a 3 mana 2/2. Whenever you roll one or more dice, create a 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature token with flying. I mean, this is a dice rolling synergy, and I don't think that's going to be good in Historic, so I'm going to say it's unplayable. This is a 1 mana something. 1 mana enchantment aura. Ooh, could this go in the auras decks? How's it going, Cybates? Enchanted creature has flying whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or venture into a dungeon. I mean, this is probably played. This is probably played over the other card in auras. Because there's a card that's played in auras that just gives the creature flying. And, like, that's it. So, like, if you could just play this over that card, this is 1 mana still. And the other card's also 2 mana, but it also the other card draws an additional card. Flying and +1/+1? Maybe this card's better than that. We'll see. But I think this card 100% has a home. And it might be playable over the card that already gives the stuff flying, or in addition to. We'll see how much dungeons matter. But it definitely has a home. Grazilax, Illithid Scholar is a 3 mana 3/2. Once again, we see that Dragon Turtle mana. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. So, if we're the aggro deck, and they block our thing, their thing goes to the hand. Okay, so our thing doesn't die. This could be really annoying in, like, creature-based mirror matches. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage, draw a card. I mean, this could be very annoying. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it. Oh, wait, no, our creature goes to the hand. Not their creature. That's a lot worse then. It's also legendary. I'm going to say it's not good enough, but I could be wrong. It doesn't have flash, so... like, your opponent's going to know what's up. But the second effect is very good. But I think you would just play cards that are more efficient than this, so I'm going to say it's not playable. Guild Thief. 2 mana 1/1. Whenever Guild Thief deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on it. And then you can pay 4 mana to have it not be able to be blocked. This is not playable. There's also a card similar to this that has flash, and it's also not playable. It is a rogue, though. So maybe it finds a home in rogues for the time being, but I don't think it's good. The other card's a rogue, too. Yeah, I agree, Ginger. We have Imarith, Desert Storm, 5 mana 5/5 legendary flying dragon. It has Ward 4 as long as it's untapped, so basically hexproof. Ward 4 is basically hexproof. Whenever Imarith deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3 cards in hand, draw equal to the difference. So you draw up to 3. And if you have 3 or more, you still draw a card. I don't think this card's good because it doesn't interact with the board. It has to pass a 5 mana dragon has to pass the Glorybringer scale. I'm sorry. It has to pass the is this card better than Glorybringer, and it just doesn't. And if it's blue, it has to be like, is this card better than Storming Entity or Crackling Drake? And it's just not. So I'm gonna say it's not playable in Historic. Mind Flayer is a 5/5 creature horror 3/3. When Mind Flayer enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature for as long as you control Mind Flayer. I mean, gaining control of creatures is pretty good. I mean, this is no Agent of Treachery. But take their coma. I don't know. There's a lot of Lightning Helix and things like that in the format. Like, it might be a good sideboard card in very niche situations. So I'm going to give this like a 1.5 out of 5. But other than that, I think it's, because it's only a super niche card in sideboards, that I'm going to say it's not playable. Mordenkainen is a 6 mana 5 loyalty planeswalker. Draw 2, then put a card from your hand at the bottom of your library. So it's a +2, so it is a 6 mana walker though, which is really, like, 6 mana walker. Like, what was the last playable 6 mana walker? Like, Chandra, like 6 mana Chandra in Historic right now. It's like the only 6 mana playable walker other than Liliana because of Vorinclex. Because in the Ultimatum decks, it wins the game. But, like, this card with Vorinclex, you can ultimate it and exchange your hand and library, then shuffle. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. So if you have, like, 4 cards in your hand, let's say at the time, or 3 cards, your library becomes 3 or 4 cards, which means you're going to deck out. Wait. Hold on. Can you pair this with 4 mana Jace? If you can somehow pair the ultimate with 4 mana Jace off something like Ultimatum, then like maybe this card's playable. But I think it's only playable in like really weird decks. As a 6 mana planeswalker, I don't think it's good enough. The -2 does make a blue dog creature with its power toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand. So the dog can be super big. The dog's also not legendary, and you can also make the dog twice before you have to plus it. So it does protect itself pretty well. But being 6 mana, it might as well be Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, because here Teferi, Hero of Dominaria is 5 mana and is a lot better than this card. It was twice the number of cards in your hand. So if you have 2 cards in your hand, it's a 4/4. I mean, the creature is definitely very relevant, but say, for instance, you control the game until you play this card. You, on average, you probably have 3 cards in your hand. When you play this card, you minus it, you have a 6/6 dog. And then you have a 6/6 dog to protect this. It's a 3 loyalty. If it doesn't die, you start drawing 2. Then that you start doing like the Jace the Mind Sculptor thing, but worse. If this was 5 mana, I'd say it's a lot more playable. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Niche situations, could be good. Probably not, though, but could be good. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Mordenkainen's Polymorph is a 2 mana instant. Until the end of turn, target creature becomes a dragon with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains flying. I mean, you can just make your thing a 4/4, or like make their thing a 4/4. I don't think it's that good, because we already have cards like this and they're unplayable. So I'm going to say this card is unplayable. Pixie Guide is a 2 mana 1/3. With grant and advantage as flying. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1 and ignore the lowest roll. I mean, it's pretty good in a dice rolling deck, but you're probably not going to build that in Historic, because it's probably not playable. So I'm going to say this card's unplayable. Power of Persuasion is a 3 mana sorcery. Choose target creature and opponent controls, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, return to the owner's hand. Alright, so worst case scenario is a sorcery that says return a creature to opponent's hand, which is very bad. You might as well play Unsummon. 10 through 19, its owner puts it to the top or bottom of their library, so might as well play Aether Gust. And then the 20 is gain control of it till the end of the next turn. So you don't gain control perfect. You can roll a nat 20 with this sorcery and not gain control permanently? Alright, this card's unplayable in Historic. What is this card? It kind of looks like a Cone of Cold. It is Ray of Frost, and maybe I was almost correct. It's a 2 mana aura with flash. Enchant creature. When Ray of Frost enters the battlefield, if the enchanted creature is red, tap it. Okay. As long as the enchanted creature is red, it loses all abilities. Enchanted creature does not untap during its controller's untap step. Huh. This is just worse than Aether Gust. I'm going to say this is unplayable in Historic. Yeah, not playable in Historic. Rhyme Shield Frost Giant is a 5-mana 4/5 with Ward 3. I mean, pretty good in Limited, but really bad in Historic. Sign of Stygia is a 3-mana 2/1 with Flash. Cone of Cold. Oh, this is Cone of Cold. Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose target creature an opponent controls and roll d20. Tap it. Or, if you roll 10 through 20, you can tap it, and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap tap. This is pretty good in Limited, but really bad in Historic. I don't even think it's playable in Collected Company decks. You might as well just, like... The thing I could see with this being playable is, like, in Merfolk, but Merfolk also had Merfolk Trickster, which is a lot better than this. Porta Secreta, so Secret Port, Secret Portal, Secret Door. Alright. It is a 1 blue wall with Defender, and you can pay 5 mana to venture into the dungeon as a sorcery. Not playable. Shocking Grasp, 2 mana instant. Target creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn, and you draw a card. This would be good if it actually did something to the creature. I mean, it nerfs it, but I don't think this is playable in Historic. Shortcut Seeker. 4 mana 2/5 whenever it deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. This is not good. They need to start making the dungeon cards better. That's what I'm finding out. Silver Raven is a 1 mana 1/1 flyer. Okay, and it scries 1. Wait, it's an artifact creature. I mean, the fact that this is an artifact creature might make it playable in the artifacts deck. I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 5 for maybe playability. It also has playability with Oswald. Yeah, maybe it's an Oswald card. But I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 5. Possibly playable, potentially not, but I'm gonna say probably not. Could find a home though. Soul Knife Spy is a 3 mana 3/2. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We've seen a lot of cards like this. They're not playable in Historic. Split the Party is a 5 mana sorcery. Choose a player. Return half the creatures they control to their owner's hand rounded up. Okay. So if they have 3 creatures, you return 2 to the hand. Baral's Expertise is much better than this. This card's unplayable, and Baral's Expertise isn't even played. Sudden Insight. 6 mana instant. Alright, at a 6 mana instant, it's gotta pass, like, the Gear Hulk test. Is this better than Gear Hulk? Draw a card for each different mana value among non-land cards in your graveyard. Yep, doesn't pass the Gear Hulk test. Not playable. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Lord Kaiju, thanks for the raid. Welcome to the Goose Gang. Goose salute to you. Let's go. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a 3 mana sorcery. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with a total mana value 20 or more. Hello? I would just laugh if you exiled an Ulamog, like 2 Ulamogs back to back, and just stopped. But like, what if, like, on average, there's probably like 8 lands in this pile, right? This is like Commander Group Hug Mill Commander, like mill everyone out and win. But like, let's say in Historic Constructed, in, let's say, not Rogues, because they don't want to exile. You'd have to play like a dedicated mill deck, and I think dedicated mill decks in Historic are really bad, so I'm going to give this a 0 out of 5 in Historic, but it does mill a lot of cards. If there's an average of 7 to 8 lands in these cards, and then everything else is like Thoughtseize or Brainstorm or whatever, you could mill like 30 cards with this thing. Or like 25 cards with this thing, depending on how many lands you hit. It's a lot of cards. How's it going, Colossal? It could be okay against Phoenix, but like, at the end of the day, like, you paying 3 mana for this, you're just gonna die. But it does exile the Phoenixes. I don't know. Could be a sideboard card. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5 for sideboard potential playability, but probably not. Alright, Trickster's Talisman. It's a 1 blue artifact, equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice Trickster's Talisman. If you do, create a token that's a copy of the creature. So this is 3 mana, copy target creature. But it has to do combat damage. I'm going to say that Quasi-Duplicate's probably better than this card. And Quasi-Duplicate's not playable, so I'm going to say not playable. True Polymorph is a 6 mana instant target artifact or creature becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature. I could see this being playable in some kind of weird combo deck, but it doesn't pass the Gearhulk test, so it's worse than Gearhulk, which means it's bad. Not playable. Wizard class. I'm gonna give that card a 0.5, because it could be in some weird convoluted combo deck that wins the game on the spot. I don't know. Looks kind of scary. Wizard class, you have no maximum hand size. When this class becomes level 2, draw 2 cards. Whoa. It's just like a divination on a stick. Level 3, pay 5 mana. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. Well, that doesn't really matter, because you'd want to play this in control decks. So I'm going to say this card is not playable. Yeah, not playable. Wizard Spellbook. 7 mana artifact. Well, this better be insane. Tap it to exile an instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Roll a d20. Activate only as a sorcery. So at best case scenario, let's play this. Let's tap it and target Magma Opus. At a 1 through 9, you can copy it and you can cast the copy. Sure. Mizzix Mastery is a million times better than this. 10 through 19. Copy the card. You may cast the copy by paying 1 rather than paying its mana cost. $20. Copy each card exiled with Wizard Spellbook. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana cost. This card's terrible. Too much mana. Have we given 5 out of 5 to anything? Yes. We gave 5 out of 5 to the flash thing that gives all your creatures... like, it phases out all your creatures with flash, and has vigilance. And a couple other cards. I think one other card. And Demi-Lich. Yeah, I think there's like 2 or 3 cards that we did. You come to a river, 2-minute instant, choose 1, fight the current. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And then find a crossing. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. I think Callous Dismissal's better than this, along with Brazen Borrower, so I'm going to give this an unplayable. Can't Oswaldo sack a treasure token or food token or something to get Portable Hull? Yes. Correct. I think I gave Portable Hull a 4.5 out of 5. How's it going, Mojo Rogue? You find the villain's lair. 3 mana instant, choose 1. Foil their scheme, counter a spell. So this is a cancel. Learn their secrets, draw 2, discard 2. So it's a cancel that can potentially draw 2, discard 2. Why would you play this when you can play Memory Lapse? This is unplayable. It's either, like, the counter spells that are played in Stork right now are, like, Memory Lapse and Dovin's Veto, and those are both way better than this. You see a guard approach. 1 mana instant, choose 1. Distract the guard, tap a creature, or you can hide to have a creature you control gain hexproof. I think this is really good in Mono Blue tempo, or, like, some kind of Izzet tempo or Jeskai tempo deck, but it's not better than Dive Down. So I'm going to give this an unplayable. Yuan Ti Malazan. 2 mana, 2/1, Snake Rogue. Yuan Ti can't be blocked as long as it's attacking alone. Whenever Yuan Ti Malazan deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. This is also one of the other pretty good dungeon cards, because it can't be blocked. It's also a rogue. Is this played in rogues in Historic? Probably not. It doesn't have flash. If it had flash, probably. But I could see it being played in standard rogues, maybe as a, you know, maybe as a 1 or 2 of or something. But I think in Historic it's unplayable. What is this card? Moving on to the black cards. We're now 2 colors deep, and we're only an hour into this. We're insane. Asterek, Lord of Undeath. It's a 3 mana 5/5. It's a zombie wizard. Whenever Asterek enters the battlefield, if you didn't complete Tomb of Annihilation, which is a dungeon, return Asterek to its owner's hand and venture into the dungeon. Oh god, weird. Whenever Aztec attacks for each opponent, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token unless the defending player sacrifices a creature. This is unplayable in Historic. I don't know why this is a Mythic. It returns itself to its hand. So it's like 3 mana, venture into the dungeon if you didn't complete it. And then it only triggers when it attacks. I don't think this is playable. What is it? Asmodeus, the Archfiend, 6 mana, 6/6. If you would draw a card, exile the top of your library face down instead. Okay, that includes your draws for turn. So you're just exiling cards. You give me 3 black mana to draw 7 cards, so it's a Gristlebrand. And then you can pay 1 black to return all cards exiled with Asmodeus, the Archfiend, to their owner's hand, and you lose that much life. Wow. I mean, this is a strictly, like, way worse Gristlebrand, but Gristlebrand's insane. If you can reanimate this, it's pretty good, but why would you reanimate this when you can reanimate, like, Elishnorn? This is like Gristlebrand, like, plus Necropotence, which are both busted cards. It's also a 6/6, but it doesn't have any keywords. It doesn't even have Menace. It doesn't even have Death Touch. It doesn't even have Lifelink. How are you supposed to resolve this card? You're supposed to, like, untap with this? Like, that's not happening. Yeah, this is basically Gristlebrand at home, yeah. Mommy, I want Gristlebrand. Son, we already have Gristlebrand. Gristlebrand at home. Asmodeus, the Archfiend. Get wrecked. I don't think this is playable. Maybe it's in some kind of weird combo deck where you, like, sacrifice this card on the stack when you pay the draw. When you do the draw 7, you sacrifice this card on the stack to where its text isn't relevant to exile everything, and then you actually do draw 7. But, like, that's only if this card really untaps or if you have, like, 10 mana, which is, like, really bad. Baleful Beholder is a 6 mana 6/5. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Anti-Magic Cone. Each opponent sacrifices an enchantment. Why is this 6 mana? Fear Ray. Creatures you control gain mana till end of turn. Yeah, this is unplayable. Black Dragon. 7 mana 4/4 flying. Acid Breath. When Black Dragon enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-3 till end of turn. This is very good in limited, but not good in Historic at all. The Book of Vile Darkness. 3 black. Okay. Legendary Artifact. Okay. Necropotence, where are you? At the beginning of your end step, if you lost 2 or more life this turn, make a 2/2. Okay. Already kind of playable in Death Shadow, depending on what the next effect is. Tap it, exile itself. And artifacts you control named Eye of Vecna and Hand of Vecna. You gonna have 3 different cards? Create Vecna, a legendary 8/8 black zombie god creature with indestructible. It gains all triggered abilities of the exiled cards. So this makes zombies, and it gets the Vecna triggered abilities. If you're not familiar with the Vecna cards, we can look at them a little bit later in the artifacts when we go over those, but I know that the Eye of Vecna says when it enters the battlefield you gain 2 life, and at every upkeep you get to pay 2 life, or 2 mana if you would like to, and then you draw a card and gain 2 life. Or you draw a card and lose 2 life. But the hand of Vecna is something else. But I don't think this is playable. It could find a home as like a one of in like Death Shadow decks, but Death Shadow plays Luris, and this card can't be played in Luris decks. So I don't think this card's good, and I'm gonna give it an unplayable in Historic. 2 mana, check for traps. Sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. Exile that card. If an instant card or a card with flash is exiled this way, they lose a life. Otherwise, you lose a life. So this card is like a nerfed Thoughtseize Inquisition of Cosmic Duress type effect, and it's basically akin to Agonizing Remorse that doesn't exile anything from the graveyard, that can deal them a life instead of making you lose 2 life. So, on par with Agonizing Remorse, I'd give this a 3 out of 5 in Historic, and Agonizing Remorse is probably just a better card. Clattering Skeletons is 4 mana 4/3 when it dies entering the dungeon, not playable in Historic. Deadly Dispute is a 2 mana instant. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. So already maybe playable in Arcanist, but let's read it. Draw 2 cards and make a treasure token. This card is outclassed by the 1 mana card that draws a card, but it doesn't make a treasure token. I guess this is playable in like treasure token strategies, but definitely not better than Village Rites. So, not playable. Deadly Priestess of Merkel. 2 black for a Tiefling Cleric. Skeletons, vampires, and zombies get +1/+1. It's 4 mana though. That does it for me. If it was 3 mana, it would be insane. It would be like a Death Baron. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 black skeleton creature token, which becomes a 2/2 because it's a lord. But I don't think this card's playable because usually decks like this want to play Collected Company, and this is 4 mana. Maybe it's worth it to play this and Collected Company, kind of like Rule does with Questing Beast, but I'll have to believe it when I see it. I don't think this card's playable. Demogorgon's Clutches. 3 mana, sorcery. Target opponent discards 2 cards, mills 2 cards, and loses 2 life. So this is similar to Mind Rot. But they also mill 2 and lose 2. I don't think this is as good as the one that exiles graveyards, though. So I'm going to say it's unplayable. Devour Intellect is a 1 mana sorcery. Target opponent discards a card. If mana from a treasure was spent to cast a spell, instead the player reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it. The player discards that card. Okay, so this is a really, really bad duress. But if you used a treasure, it's literal Thoughtseize. So it's bad. Drader is a 5 mana 4/3. Okay, this is a different language. Drider is a 5 mana elf spider. Elf spider? Hello? It has reach. Whenever a Drider deals combat damage to a player, make a 2/1 with menace and reach. It's not good because it doesn't have evasion and it's only a 4/3 and it's 5 mana. I can see this card being really good in limited though. Now we're gonna go to Dungeon Crawler. It's a 1 mana 2/1. Okay. Enters tapped. Okay. All right. Is this played in mono black? Whenever you complete a dungeon, you may return it from your graveyard to your hand. Nope. Nope. Ebon Death Dragolich is a 4 mana 5/2. Ugh. Ew. A 4 mana 5/2 and a mythic? This is Bone Crusher Giant and Shock and Pillar of Flame Death. As Flash? Have anyone ever seen a mono black Flash card? Actually, I have. Flash flying, and it enters the battlefield tapped. Oh my gosh, it's even worse than I thought. You may cast Ebon Death Dragolich from your graveyard if a creature not named Ebon Death Dragolich died this turn. Okay, so it's come back out of the graveyard. It doesn't make this better. Like... I don't know. This card just seems bad. This card seems very, very... Like, if a creature died, you can cast it out of the graveyard? Like... I mean, I guess. In Historic, this is probably too clunky. And weird. And only 2 toughness. So I'm going to say unplayable. Eye of the Beholder is a 6 mana instant. Target creature is -11/-11. As a 6 mana instant. 11? 11? Is there something in D&D lore about the Eye of the Beholder doing 11 damage? Anyways, this is just really, really, really bad. Goodbye, Ulamog. Yeah, this does get rid of Ulamog. Or do they have 11 eyes? Okay, it has 11 eyes. Fair. So the lore is on point, but it being 6 mana is a little weird. It's a lot of mana, so it's unplayable. Fate's Reversal is a 2 mana sorcery. Return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Venture into the dungeon. This is a very bad card. Very, very, very bad card. In Historic, so unplayable. Feign Death is a 1-mana instant. Until the end of turn, target creature gains when this creature dies. Return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. The +1/+1 counter on it. This card is worse than the 1-mana card that does the same thing, except for it is a land. So this card is unplayable and historic. Unplayable. Forsworn Paladin is a 1-mana 1/1 menace. Pay 2 mana and tap it and pay a life to make a treasure token. Okay, okay. I'm reading. Pay 2 and a black. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. If mana from a treasure was spent to cast this ability, the creature also gains Death Touch. I mean, this card's not good. It's good in like treasure synergy standard decks, but I don't think this is playable in historic. Gelatinous Cube is a 4-mana 4/3. It reminds me of the cube in Hearthstone. Engulf. When Gelatinous Cube enters the battlefield, exile target non-ooze creature an opponent controls until Gelatinous Cube leaves the battlefield. Dissolve. X and black. Put target creature card with mana value X exile with Gelatinous Cube into its owner's graveyard. Oh! So this thing, like, engulfs the thing and then, like, spits it out into the graveyard if you pay mana? That's hilarious. I like the lore. I like the ability, like, kind of looks like what it would do. It has really cool flavor. But it's probably not playable in historic. But it does exile a thing at 4 mana, so this card's probably... Is this card better than Ravenous Chupacabra? Probably not. Grim Bounty is a 4-mana sorcery. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Create a treasure token. This is really good and limited. Probably not anywhere else. So I'm going to give it an unplayable. Grim Wanderer is a 2-mana 5/3 flash. What? Tragic backstory. Cast a spell only if a creature died this turn. Huh. Hello? I mean, what? I mean... Hello? Why is this an uncommon? Two mana 5/3 flash. Cast it only if a creature died. Someone wanted to call it Edgelord and decided against it. That's funny. So... What you're saying is you sacrifice the cat to the oven, and then you cast this? I mean, 2 mana 5/3 is no joke. Oh, Phyrexian Tower, too? Like, with Phyrexian Tower, this card's, like, actually free. Became a Grim Wanderer because his cat died. I mean... You really want to be casting a 2-drop on turn 2, but this card could also just be good in, like, a Lurrus deck, right? Like, having a Lurrus card that's a 5/3 is pretty good. Like, yeah, 5/3 is no joke. You claim the Firstborn their thing, and then Phyrexian Tower their thing, and then you cast this. I mean, honestly, it might not be playable because of the restriction is so crazy, like, hard to do sometimes. Like, you could just be chilling on this in your hand and waiting for something to die. But the fact that it has flash is really good. Yeah, you kill one of your dudes and turn flash this in. Yeah, you can also kill their creature and play this. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 in historic. Because I don't think there's a chance, and I'm going to give it a 20% chance, which is why it's a 4 out of 5, that this card's not playable. But I think it's really good. 2 mana 5/3 is insane. Alright. 5 mana Hadar's Messenger. It's a creature, human warlock, pays 6 mana to roll d20. Ew. 1 through 9, each player loses 2 life. 10 to 19, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. And then roll nat 20, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, and you make a treasure. This card's unplayable. Can't play a card like that expensive. Hired Hexblade is a 2 mana 2/2. When Hired Hexblade enters the battlefield, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, you draw a card and you lose a life. This is much worse than the Vampire that does the same thing, but you don't have to do anything from a treasure token, so it is unplayable in Historic. Horde Robber is a 2-mana 1/3. Whenever Horde Robber deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Unplayable in Historic. Lightfoot Rogue, 2-mana 2/1. Sneak Attack. Whenever Lightfoot Rogue attacks, roll a d20, 1 through 9. It gets Death Touch. So it's a 2-mana 2/1 Death Touch, basically, is how you have to think about it. Which is not good enough. 10 through 19 is it gets +1/+1 and gains Death Touch. So, still not good enough. And Nat 20, it gets +3/+0 and gains First Strike and Death Touch. Now that's good. If it was a 2-mana 2/1 First Strike, if it was a 2-mana 5/1 First Strike Death Touch, then it's playable. But a 2-mana 3/1 Death Touch is not good enough. So I'm going to say not playable. Lol Spider Queen is a 5-mana 4 loyalty planeswalker. That says whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on Lol Spider Queen. So it has the same passive text as the 6-mana Garruk, which has been very bad in my experience. 0. Oh, it's not even a +1. You draw a card and lose 2 life. Okay, it's not a +1 because you get loyalty when your stuff dies. Spider Mama. Lol Spider Queen. You draw a card and you lose a life, which is, I mean, pretty good. -3. Create 2/1 Black Spider creature tokens with Menace and Reach. Wow, you make 2 creatures? I mean, 5-mana Planeswalker -3 to make 2 creatures is pretty strong. And then when they die, you get loyalty and you get to draw cards? I mean, that's pretty good. -8, you get an emblem with whenever an opponent is dealt combat damage by 1 or more creatures you control. If that player lost less than 8 life this turn, they lose life equal to the difference. So if they lose 1 life, they lose 8. So if you get to their life total with combat damage, they automatically lose 8 life. I mean that's very good. I mean, what is this competing with? This competes with... What's another 5-mana walker in a Historic that's played? Teferi, Hero of Dominaria? It's comparable to 6-mana Liliana. Teferi and Nissa are the only ones played. Yeah, the only 5-mana walkers played in Historic are Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and Nissa Who Shakes the World. Is this card better than those cards? Or, I mean, it's definitely not better than Teferi. Is this card, like, on par with Nissa? I mean, Nissa doesn't draw cards. Maybe it's worth trying in the Vraska slot? Well, Vraska's only played in, like, Sacrifice decks as, like, a 1-of sideboard slot, or, like, in Niv Misery Reborn decks. I mean, in a Sacrifice deck, this card's pretty good. I would say but it takes Corvault's slot, though, because Corvault's 5-mana. I mean, that's a really hard slot to fill. Like, having to play Corvault and this is too clunky. You'd have to play it in, like, a Rakdos Sacrifice deck, or just like a sideboard card for when your opponent isn't expecting a Planeswalker. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. Manticore is a 4-mana 2/1 flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. That's a classic limited effect. Not good in Historic. Power Word Kill. 2-mana instant. Destroy a non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon. So, I would say this is a lot worse than Doomblade. And a lot worse than Flunk, and a lot worse than Heartless Act, and a lot worse than a lot of other cards. So I think this card's bad. I'm going to say it's unplayable in Historic. Precipitous Drop is a 3-mana aura. When Precipitous Drop enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. It gets -5/-5 instead. as long as you've completed a dungeon. I think this card it might be okay in Standard, but not good enough in Historic because it's 3 mana. Raven Feeblement. It's a 1 mana instant. Target creature gets -4/-1 till end of turn. So it's like a worse... It's like a worse Disfigure. If that creature is white, it gets -4/-4. Hello? I mean, what? 1 black -4/-4? It misses Heliod. Fair. A 1 black -4/-4 is no joke. This is like Adanto Vanguard Heaven for black decks. And it also, like, oh my gosh, it also is really good against Angels. The Angels decks, they're all 4 toughness. Oh my gosh. This card's busted in Historic. You'd rather play 2 mana to destroy a green-white planeswalker or creature? What, for Noxious Grasp? Yeah, it might be too narrow, but if you really care about Adanto Vanguard, you'll play this. Like, I think this is also pretty good against the Auras deck. And it gets past the dog. Like, right now, against black decks, like, the Auras deck sides in the dog. Or, like, already plays the dog. And this gets around the dog. And it does -4/-4 against all their white creatures. And if their creature's not white, and it's like a... What is that other creature? Like the blue 1/1 with like, protection from red, you can just kill that. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 in sideboards. I think it's pretty good. Can you dedicate sideboard slots to just 1 matchup? Well, a lot of matchups play Adanto Vanguard. A lot of different decks play that card. So I think if your deck just loses to Adanto Vanguard, then you should definitely consider Raven Feeblement. Because you don't want to play a card like Disfigure, right? To deal with that card. Because you want to be able to deal with more cards than just Adanto Vanguard, right? And this card also deals with every Angel that they play. And the Auras deck. Unlike Disfigure. So this card is considerably better than Disfigure. Is it better than Fatal Push, though? It's better than Fatal Push against the dog, that's for sure. It's also better than Fatal Push against Adanto Vanguard. This card's definitely very playable. Probably not better than Legion's End. I mean, this card kills 3 and 4 drops, too, in the Angels deck. Or 3 drop, all the 3 drops. And Legion's End can't exile the 3 drops. Yeah, it's probably comparable to Red Cat Melee, yeah. I would say that's the closest comparison to this card. So I would say, if it matters, then it's insane. And I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 because of that. Let's see, what's this card? Reaper's Talisman. It's a black, and it's equipment. Whenever equipment creature attacks, it gains Death Touch. Whenever equipment creature attacks alone, the defending player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Equip 2. Once again, I don't really think equipments are that good in Historic unless it's Embercleave, so I'm going to say it's unplayable in Historic. Like, you gotta prove me wrong with cards like this. Sepulchre Ghoul. 2 mana 2/1. Sacrifice another creature. Sepulchre Ghoul gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Activate only once each turn. This is an infinite sack outlet. Wait, no it's not. It says activate only once each turn. Never mind. Very bad. Very bad. Unplayable in Historic. Yeah, once each turn makes... I almost got excited, but now I'm not. Shambling Gas is a 1 mana 1/1. When it dies, choose one. You can Brave the Stench to have target creature and opponent controls get -1/-1 till end of turn, or you can Search the Body to have create a treasure token. Could be played in sacrifice decks, but I don't think so. I'm going to give it an unplayable. Skullport Merchant, I think this card's called. Yeah, let's go. I can read Spanish. Or actually, it's Italian. Pay 3 mana. No, 3 mana for a 1/4 for a Dwarf Citizen. Whenever a Skullport Merchant enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Pay 1 in the black, sacrifice another creature or treasure to draw a card. This is unplayable in Historic because why would you play this when you can play Woe Strider? Sphere of Annihilation is X and a black for an artifact. Sphere of Annihilation enters the battlefield with X void counters on it. Oh my gosh, is this going to be something crazy? At the beginning of your upkeep, exile Sphere of Annihilation. Okay, that's actually mandatory? All creatures and planeswalkers with mana value less than or equal to the number of void counters on it, and all creature and planeswalker cards in graveyards with mana value less than or equal to the number of void counters on it. Wait, what? It's a delayed board. It's a delayed exile wipe. Yeah, it makes like you play this and your opponent's like, all right, I'm not gonna play anything. But it is a fetchable wipe with Karn. So this is probably like insta played. Beginning of your upkeep, exile it, and all creatures and planeswalkers mana value less than or equal to the number of void counters on it. Okay, so that deck also ramps, so you can just like do this for like X equals 5 or whatever after you do Karn, and then like everything gets exiled. But it also exiles your own stuff. Exile itself, all creatures and walkers. And it's an artifact. Yeah, but it also exiles their own card. But I guess you can minus Karn, get this, next turn cast it, minus Karn again, get whatever, and then you don't care if Karn dies because it's that one loyalty anyway. But like I think this card's insane in Karn decks, and like literally only the mono black ramp deck, and I think that deck's not that good. And it makes your opponent do nothing. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 just for that deck. I think it's very good. Very good for Karn decks. How much artifact removal is going around in Historic? A lot. Everyone's playing a Braid or whatever. Yeah. I think it's an auto-include. Auto-include in Karn decks. Thieves' Tools. 2 mana artifact equipment. When Thieves' Tool enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Equipped creature can't be blocked as long as its power is 3 or less. Equip 2. I don't think this card's good in Historic. Vampire Spawn. 3 mana 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Not played in Historic. Vorpal Sword. 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has Death Touch. Once again, I'm going to say this card's not playable, but let's see. You can pay 8 mana until the end of turn. Vorpal Sword gains whatever equipped creature does combat to the damage to the player. That player loses the game. Hello? How's it going, Riley? I don't think Thieves' Tools is good. Wait, so... So what if you play this with the card deck too? And then you fetch Vorpal Sword, you cast it, you plus Karn on your artifact, you use all of your mana to equip Vorpal Sword to the freaking Karn artifact and attack them. And then you win. That sounds broken. I mean, this card is probably... I'd probably see this being played in the Karn decks, too. You have to pay 8 but Karn decks can pay like infinite mana. Karn decks have like a lot of artifacts. Artifact ramp lands. Or artifact ramp stuff. Warlock, I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. It could win the game every so often, but if your opponent's ready for it, they'll keep a blocker up. Keep a blocker there. But then again, it still like threatens lethal a bunch. Like if you have enough mana, you just search this card, you just win the game if they don't have a creature, which is like insane. But I don't really see that coming up that often. Warlock class, 1 mana. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, each opponent loses a life. I have to read that again. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, each opponent loses a life. That's whatever. Level 2. When this class becomes level 2, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Okay. Okay. Pay 7 mana. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. Well, I mean, Warlock class is stackable. If you have multiple Warlock classes on the battlefield and you play them and they're all at level 1, then you get to stack the beginning of your end step. If a creature dies this turn, each opponent loses 1 life. You get to make them lose even more life. But 7 mana for level 3 is hefty. So I'm going to say this card's not playable in Historic. Regent of the Eastport. Is that what this is? Westgate Regent. Oh, it's West, not East. 5 mana Vampire. Flying Ward, discard a card. Okay, so in order to target this thing, the opponent has to discard a card. Whenever Westgate Regent deals combat damage to a player, put that number of +1/+1 counters on it. I don't think this is better than the one that draws cards, so I'm going to give this an unplayable in Historic. And they have to compete for the 5 mana slot. This is just not better than that card. It does have flying though, but I don't think it's better than that card. The one that draws cards. White. 2 mana 3/2. White enters the battlefield tapped. Life Drain. Whenever a creature is dealt damage by white this turn dies, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token and exile that card. And this works even if they trade. It like exiles and then you get a 2/2. I don't think this card's good. Yeah, I don't think this card's good. I'm going to give it a 0 out of 5. Yuan-Ti Fangblade. 3 mana 2/2 Death Touch. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. That's not good. Zombie Ogre. 5 mana 3/5. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature dies this turn, venture to the dungeon. Not good. Armory Veteran. 2 mana 2/2. We're going into the red cards now. Orc Warrior. As long as Armory Veteran is equipped as Menace. Not good. Barbarian class. 1 mana. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice +1 and ignore the lowest roll. Okay. Level 2. Pay 2 mana for it. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, target creature you control gets +2/+0 against Menace till end of turn. Okay. Level 3. Creatures you control have haste. Now the level 3 is insane, but it takes a really long time to get there, and it takes 6 mana to get there. Like, this is Perforos with a lot of extra steps. It's Perforos for 1 more that also is die rolling synergies. I'm going to say unplayable and Historic. Battlecry Goblin, 2 mana 2/2. Pay 1 in a red to have goblins you control get +1/+0 and gain haste till end of turn. Wait, what? Pack Tactics. Whenever Battlecry Goblin attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, make a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. Oh no. Oh no. Is this another goblin haster that I'm going to have to worry about with Muxus? Yeah, but if you get the 1 mana card that makes mana, you can easily do this. Is this card played? No, I think it barely misses the cut. I think this barely misses the cut. I wouldn't be surprised if it saw play though. Boots of Speed, 1 mana equipment, equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste. Equip 1. This card. Okay. I think this card is worse than the 1 mana enchantment that has cycling. So I think this card's bad. Brazen Dwarf is a 2 mana 1/3. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, Brazen Dwarf deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay. Finally, an okay dice payoff, but it's still a dice payoff, so like, whatever. I'm going to say it's unplayable. Burning Hands, 2 mana instant. Burning Hands deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent is green, Burning Hands deals 6 damage instead. Wait, what? 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. So, like, Bone Crusher Giant. If that permanent is green, it deals 6 damage. 6 damage? Six damage? For a 2 mana instant? That's a coma. You can just 2 mana instant speed kill coma with just red cards. Wait, this also kills Teferi. No, it doesn't. It kills Nissa, like, immediately. This kills Gargaroth immediately. This kills Vorinclex immediately. Oh my god, this card's insane. 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 sideboard card. Let's go. This card's busted. When you're a red deck, you really... This makes Elder Gargaroth unplayable. This actually makes Nissa and Elder Gargaroth kind of bad. Holy crap. I mean, usually red just can't get rid of Gargaroth. I mean, I think this card is broken. It's a 5 out of 5 in Historic. Alright, moving on. 5 out of 5. Chaos Channeler, 4 mana, 4/3. I thought that was a Planeswalker at one point. Wild Magic Surge. Whenever Chaos Channeler attacks, roll d20. 1 through 9, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. 10 through 19. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. Nat 20. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. That's not good. That's not good. Critical hit. 2 mana instant. Target creature gains double strike. We already have something like that. Whenever you roll a Nat 20, return it to from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, this is marginally better than the card that already does this. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 because it's a niche card that only comes up sometimes when someone wants to build a really neat Goldspan Dragon deck. Delina Wild Mage is a 4 mana 3/2. Whenever Delina Wild Mage attacks, choose a target creature you control. I don't think anything that costs 4 mana or 3 mana or whatever that has to work while attacking is good. So I'm going to just, without reading this card, say that it's unplayable. But sure, it's a rare, we'll read it. Choose target creature you control, then roll a d20. So you can target itself. 1 through 14, make a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary. It has exile this creature at end of combat. So it makes a Ragavan. So basically, it's like a Karazev, but a lot worse because this is 4 mana. And Karazev's not even played. And you can create, if you roll 15 through 20, you can create one of those tokens and roll again. I mean, that part's pretty good, but you only have like a 20% chance to roll that. But, yeah, this card's bad. Dragon's Fire, 2 mana instant. As additional cost to cast a spell, you may reveal a dragon card from your hand or choose a dragon you control. Dragon's Fire deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you revealed a dragon card or chose a dragon as you cast a spell, Dragon's Fire deals damage equal to the power of that card or creature instead. I mean, this card's really good in dragon decks. But if you're not playing a dragon deck, then you would just play Fire Prophecy or Scorching Dragonfire. But if you're playing a dragon deck, this card is way better than both of those. So maybe it's playable in Standard, but in Historic there's not really any dragon decks. So I'm going to say this card's unplayable. Dueling Rapier. 1 mana flash. Equipment. ETB. Attached to a creature. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equipped 4. This is pretty bad. I'm going to say it's unplayable. Earth Cult Elemental is a 6 mana 6/6 with Siege Monster. When Earth Cult Elemental enters the battlefield, roll a d20. 1 through 9. Each player sacrifices a permanent. Each player. Okay. 10 through 19. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent. Oh, it's player and then opponent. And then nat 20. Each opponent sacrifices 2 permanents. This card's bad because it's 6 mana. Moving on. This is Farada's Fireball. 5 mana instant. Fireball deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Roll a d20. So it's already worse than Soulseer. 1 through 9, it deals 2 damage to each player. 10 through 20, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So, very unplayable. Did you miss something about the Rapier? Like, it's just a combat trick. And you're really, really not likely at all to equip it again. So, I don't think it's good. Slime Skull is a 3 mana 3/1. It's a skeleton. It's a mythic rare. Flying, and it can't block. So, already similar to some cards that we already see in Historic. It has Rejuvenation, which is when Flame Skull dies, exile it. Okay. If you do, exile the top card of your library. Okay. Until end of your next turn. So let's say you attack with this, and they trade with this. You exile this and the top card. Until the end of your next turn, you may play one of those cards. So you can just play Flame Skull again. It says if you cast Flame Skull this way, you can't play the other card. And vice versa, if you play the other card, you can't play Flame Skull. Interesting. So this card either comes back or you pick the better card. I mean, you could also play this in sacrifice decks. And just keep getting this Flame Skull back. But it's also you also have to like pay the 3 mana again. In Historic, this is just much better than the black 3/1 that can't block that comes back when you play a land, so I'm going to say it's unplayable. But I could be wrong. Goblin Javelier is a 1 mana 1/1 haste. Whenever it becomes blocked, it deals the damage to a target creature blocking it. This card is worse than other cards that we know of already, including Soulscar Mage. Goblin Morningstar is a 2 mana equipment. Creature gets +1/+0 and trample. Equip for 2. When it enters the battlefield, roll d20. 1 through 9, make a 1/1. 10 through 20, make a 1/1. And attach it. So this is worse than the white equipment that does the same thing. There's a white one that when it enters the battlefield makes a 1/1 and automatically equips it for like not rolling any dice. So I'm going to say this card's unplayable. Hoarding, and that card's also not playable. Ancestral Blade is not playable either. Hoarding Ogre is a 4 mana 3/3. Whenever it attacks, roll d20. 1 through 9, make a treasure token. 10 through 19, make 2. Nat 20, make 3. This card's not playable because it's a red card that doesn't get fetched by company, and it's not Questing Beast. This card is a Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin Bandit Leader is 1 and 2 red for a Goblin Rogue. Other goblins you control gain +1/+1. This is the Lord we've been waiting for, I guess. Pay a red and tap it. Hobgoblin Bandit Leader deals damage equal to the amount of goblins that enter the battlefield under your control this turn to any target. Hello? Oh no. Oh no! So you play this. So you play Muxus. And then you play this card. Off the Muxus. And then you tap Krenko. And then you win the game. Because you attack with everything, leave this back, and then after you attack them, if they're already not dead, you just shoot them to death. So in that case, it could be win more. But on the other side of the equation, this makes your regular fair Goblin game plan when you don't have Muxus way better, because this doesn't sacrifice itself. You can just play this and play like 2 Goblins on the next turn, attack with your other Goblins that you have, and then just like tap this and kill a creature. Like, this is very good Goblin value even when you're not winning with it. You just, like, kill all their stuff. I think this card's like a 4 out of 5 in the Goblins deck. It doesn't give us stuff haste, but it gives +1/+1, and it kills stuff. Like, over and over again. This is much better in the aggro mirror matches. Like, this is a really good aggro mirror match card. It could be a sideboard card. I think it's really good. Hobgoblin Captain is a 2-mana 3/1 Pack Tactics. Whenever Hobgoblin attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater this turn, it gains first strikes on a turn. Really unplayable. Hulking Bugbear, 3-mana 3/3 Hasting Goblin. Unplayable. Improvised Weaponry, 3-mana sorcery. It deals 2 damage to any target, create a treasure token. Unplayable. This is Inferno of the Star Mounts. It's a mythic rare, 6-mana 6/6 dragon. It can't be countered, so this also has to take the place of 6-mana Chandra. Let's see if it's better than 6-mana Chandra. Flying and haste. Okay, so it's like 6 damage, almost guaranteed, against control. Wait, no, they could have Justice Strike, right? Or Aether Gust. And you can pay a red to have it get +1/+0 until end of turn, so Fire Breathing. When its power becomes 20 this way, so 14 mana later, Inferno of the Star Mounts deals 20 damage to any target. So if you have 14 red mana, I guess you can kill your opponent. This is just worse than 6-mana Chandra, so I'm going to say it's unplayable. In Historic. Like, this might be good in like some kind of Dragons deck, but like, let's be real, this ability's not going to get to 20. But like, Flying Haste is pretty good, but why would you not just play Goldspan Dragon at that point? Like, you could double the attack of this. Like, you could use this 3 times, and then double the attack, and then use it 2 more times, but that's a lot of mana. Like, you would have to go Goldspan Dragon, and then have Goldspan Dragon not die, and then play this, and then double it, and then use it again, and use it like a bunch more times, and then kill them. So, I guess, in a weird world in Standard, you can do a Goldspan Dragon into this when it comes out and win the game. So, technically, you can do that. So, I'm going to say this is unplayable in Historic, because this is a Historic review. Jaded Sellsword is a 4-mana 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, if a mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, it gains first strike and haste. I don't think this is good. Once again, 4-mana creatures, not very good in Historic unless they have haste, not bound by casting it off a treasure token, or able to be Cocoed into. Kick in the Door, 1-mana sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on a creature. It gains haste till end of turn and can't be blocked by walls. And then you venture into the dungeon. Not good. Magic Missile, 3-mana sorcery. It can't be countered. It deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. I mean, I like the flavor of that. It like literally is Magic Missile. But is it better than Soulseer? Is it better than any other 3-mana deal damage card? Like, I could see it being really good against elves. But at that point, why wouldn't you just play Anger of the Gods? I guess you wouldn't play Anger of the Gods if you're also playing a creature deck. So I would say this is better than Anger of the Gods if you're also playing creatures. Yeah. I noticed there was no shock after rotation, but I don't know. I think Magic Missile's playable in red-based aggro decks, or red-based aggro or mid-range decks that are also playing creatures in the sideboard against other aggro matchups. So I'm going to say this is a 3 out of 5 Historic playable card because it's a good sideboard card. Meteor Swarm is a 3-mana plus X sorcery. Meteor Swarm deals 8 damage divided as you choose amongst X targets, creatures, and/or planeswalkers. So this card is 5 mana. It deals 8 damage to 2 things. This is like better than Shadow Skull Smashing for that effect. But Shadow Soul Smashing is also a land. I mean, this card's really good. But, like, is it better than Shadow Soul Smashing? Probably not. Four mana deal 8 to one thing. I mean, if 8 damage ends up mattering for some reason, then I could see it being playable, but I don't think this card is good. It might see play, but that doesn't mean it's good. I'm going to give it like a 1 out of 5, because maybe it gets better than Shadow Soul Smashing if something popular has 8 toughness, which I don't think is the case, but whatever. Minion of the Mighty is a 1 mana 0/1 menace. Pack tactics: whenever Minion of the Mighty attacks, if you attacked with a creatures with total value power 6 or greater this combat, you may put a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Okay, so this is good in a dragon's deck. Turn 3 Velomachus Lorehold. So you do turn 1 this. No, you can't do that. You have to attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater, which is hard to do on turn 3. I'm going to say Minion of the Mighty is unplayable. Orb of Dragonkind. 2 mana artifact is a rare. Pay 1 and tap it to add 2 mana of any combination of colors. Spend it only to cast dragon spells or activate abilities of dragon. So this is a ramp card. You pay 2 on turn 2, then turn 3 you pay 1 mana to add 2 colors. But you can only cast dragons or activate abilities of dragons, so it's a little worse. You can pay a red and tap it and sacrifice it to look at the top 7 cards, reveal a dragon, and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. I think this is like kind of bad unless there's some kind of like dragon combo deck in Historic, which is only Dragonstorm, but specifically does not want dragons in your hand. It wants them in the deck for Dragonstorm. So I would say that this is a standard card and not Historic playable. Plundering Barbarian is a 3 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Smash the chest, destroy an artifact, or pry it open, make a treasure token. I think this card's unplayable. There's already a card that does that in Irrelevant Revelers, and that card is not good. Price of Loyalty. It's 3 mana sorcery. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste till end of turn. If mana from a treasure was spent to cast a spell, it gets +2/+0 till end of turn. That card, there's also a lot of cards that do this in Historic, and unfortunately it's 3 mana, which is unplayable. Red Dragon is a 6 mana 4/4 flying. It has, when Red Dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. It's pretty good and limited as a flying 4/4 for 6, but unplayable in Historic. Rust Monster. 3 mana 2/1, first strike. Sacrifice an artifact. It gets +2/+0 till end of turn. So this is has a pretty cool flavor text with treasures. Sacrificing treasures to get +2/+0 because it's a Rust Monster. It destroys the treasures. But yeah, Plundering Barbarian, you're saying it's relevant for Magda? Yeah, it might be relevant for Magda in Standard. But Rust Monster is unplayable. Swarming Goblins is a 5 mana 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, roll a d20. 1 through 9, make it a 1/1. 10 through 19, make 2 of them. 20, make 3 of them. It's unplayable because it's a 5 mana creature. This is a 5 mana 4/4. It's called Tiger Tribe Hunter. It has trample as well, and it says, whenever Tiger Tribe Hunter attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, which is really easy to do because that's a 4/4. You may sacrifice a creature. If you do, Tiger Tribe Hunter deals damage to target creature equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So you're basically just like flinging something at something else when you attack with this, which is pretty bad. I'm going to say unplayable and move on. Unexpected Windfall is a 4 mana instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card. Create 2 cards, or draw 2 cards, and create 2 treasure tokens. How's it going, Exiled? Okay, so this card is basically ramp. It makes 2 treasures and it's an instant. I think this card is really, really good in the in the Artifact Matters combo decks, treasure, like, the Indomitable Creativity decks, I think this card just, like, goes in that deck. But it might be, like, a worse Seize the Spoils. But actually, I think it's better than Seize the Spoils, because this is an instant. I think this is better. I think this is better. This is better than Seize the Spoils. So, I'm going to say it's playable in Historic, and it's probably playable in a big way, and it's, like, they're going to have so many ways to make treasures. They're going to play, like, what? They already have so many cards, like Magma Opus. They already have, like, Prismari Command, and now they get this. I think this is really good in Lotus God combo, especially because it makes 2 treasure tokens, and you need multiple things to cast with you need multiple things to target with the Indomitable Creativity. I don't know. It might be good. It might be bad. You do have to play it a turn later than Seize the Spoils, so we'll see. This card is Valorous Bard. It's a 3-mana 2/3. Inspire. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 till end of turn. Unfortunately, that effect is not playable in Historic. Wish. 3-mana sorcery. It's just called Wish? Wow. Sorcery. You may play a card you own from outside the game this turn. What? Oh, it's this turn, so it's not like the blue card that does that. It's not Fey Wishes. But if there's a Storm deck, it can play this. But, like, playing a card you own from outside the game this turn, you have to have a lot of mana to utilize this. Huh. I'm going to say this card has potential. We give it a 2 out of 5. But I don't think it's going to be that good. But maybe. Zorn is a 3-mana 3/2. If you would create 1 or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional treasure token. I mean, it's a creature and it dies to Stomp, so I'm going to say this card is bad. It also dies to Prismari Command. Also dies to Pillar of Flame and Shock. I think this card's bad. I'm going to say unplayable. You come to the Null Camp. 2-mana instant, choose 1. Intimidate them up to 2 target creatures can't block this turn. Or, you can fend them off by having target creature get +3/+1 till end of turn. This is really good in Limited. I don't think it's good in Historic, so I'm going to say unplayable in Historic. You find some prisoners. 2-mana instant, choose 1. Break their chains. Destroy target artifact. Or, ooh, this could be a Braid worthy if this interrogate them does anything cool. Exile the top 3 cards of the target opponent's library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card, and you may spend mana as or mana of any color to cast it. So basically, it's like a Gonti plus an artifact destruction. That's kind of weird. It destroys artifacts or it's a Gonti? Is it worth playing after a brainstorm? If they brainstorm, then you play this card and you take their best cards. Yeah, I think this is just a worse Gonti. I'm gonna say it's unplayable. I don't think people will play this. I think it's like too fair. Alright, you see a pair of goblins. It's 3-mana instant. You can charge them to have creatures you control get +2/+0 till end of turn, literally charge. Or you can befriend them. Make 2 1/1s. Is this good in... No, this is not good. There's cards that do way better things than this. Like maybe if Winota comes back or something, I don't know. Probably still bad. Zalto Fire Giant Duke. It is a 5-mana 7/3 trample giant barbarian legendary creature. 5-mana 7/3. This is giving me Godzilla vibes for sure. Trample. Whenever it is dealt damage, venture into the dungeon. I mean, 7/3 trample for 5 is like 7 power. I mean, it doesn't have haste or anything. It doesn't affect the board. I think this card's unplayable, just like Neheb is unplayable. Neheb's effect is so good, and it's 1 mana cheaper, and it's like a 5/4 for 4, and it's unplayable because it doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield. So I'm going to say this card's unplayable, unfortunately. I like the design, though. Zariel, Archduke of Avernus, 4 mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +1, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. I mean, that's pretty relevant. 0, make a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And then -6, which happens very quickly, actually. You get an emblem at -6. At the end of your first combat phase of your turn, untap target creature you control after this phase is additional combat phase. You get an emblem with additional combat phases every combat phase. And you can give stuff haste. I mean, this has to pass the Chandra test, though, right? And Chandra is much better than this card. Oh, man. This makes creatures which Chandra doesn't. But Chandra actually destroys stuff. So you play this, and you uptick it. And then your next turn, you uptick it again. It's not the following turn, it's 2 turns later. I mean, no one plays Tibalt 3, though. Like, this actually has to compete with Chandra Torch of Defiance. Your creatures have haste, makes creatures to defend itself and quickly alts playable in standard, not sure about in historic, yeah. If you have Baby Chandra on turn 3 and this on turn 4? I mean, maybe. Oh yeah, you can ult on turn 5, the turn after if you have Baby Chandra, yeah. This card is good in historic, but I don't know if it is playable in historic because Chandra Torch of Defiance is so good at 4 mana. But, like, this card could still be good because it gives your stuff haste. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 in historic because I think it's good. I just don't know if it takes the place of Chandra Torch of Defiance, or maybe you play, like, 3 Torch of Defiance and 1 of this. But it has to be in, like, creature-based, like, mid-range aggro decks for it to be good. The fact that it just sits on board and gives your creatures all your creatures haste is pretty good, though. But I'm gonna say it's like borderline unplayable, but also borderline playable in historic. I want to say this. I wouldn't be surprised if it was played in historic. I wouldn't be surprised. Bullet, 4 mana 3/3 beast. At the beginning of your end step, if your creature dies this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Bullet. I think that's bad. Bull Strength is 2 mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and trample to end of turn and untap it. It's very extremely good in limited, not good in historic. Choose your weapon. 3 mana instant. Choose one. 2-up and fighting. Double target creature's power and toughness till the end of turn. Or this spell deals 5 damage to target creature with flying. I think this card's really bad because Broken Wings exists and Broken Wings is still bad. This also doubles power and toughness, but 3 mana is too expensive. Circle of Dreams Druid is a 3 mana elf druid, and you add 1 green for each creature you control. So, I mean, elves get better, I guess. This is like another Archdruid. Oh, God. The elves get another Archdruid? Is this what we're talking about? Man. How many mana enablers are they gonna get? All you gotta do is resolve Collected Company on turn 3 or 4, and then you can just cast Crater Hoof the next turn because so many cards make mana. Like, if you go like turn 1 Llanowar Elves, into turn 2 this, into turn 3 like 2 more Elves, and you can cast like just everything in your hand on turn 3. Oh my gosh, this card's so good in Elves. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5 in Elves just because it's not also a Lord like Archdruid is. But this card's insane. This card So elves get better. Druid of the Moon Circle is 3 green, 2 and a green for a human elf druid during your turn. It is a bear with basic power and toughness 4/2. So in your turn it's a 4/2, and then on your opponent's turn it's a 2/4. I mean, that's pretty cool design, but I don't think it's playable. Because like if it's a 2/4, you want it to be back to block, but when it's a 4/2, you attack it and you tap it. If this had vigilance, it would be like way better. But it doesn't, so I'm going to say it's unplayable. Compelled Duel is 2 mana sorcery. Target creature gets +3/+3 till end of turn and must be blocked this turn to Fable. Unplayable. Dire Wolf Prowler is a 3 mana 2/2. You can pay 1 and a green to have it get +2/+2 in haste and activate only once each turn. Unfortunately, Shifting Ceratops is insanely better than this card, so I'm going to say unplayable. Druid Class is a 2 mana class card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. 3 mana for level 2. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Well, I mean, you don't need that effect anymore if you're paying for this. Level 3, 5 mana. When this class becomes level 3, target land you control becomes a creature with haste, and this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and it's still a land. I don't think this card is good. Unplayable. Elwick Tumblestrum. 4 mana, 4 loyalty, Planeswalker. Elwick. +1, venture into the dungeon. -2, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature from among them and put them into your hand, and put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is like Vivian Reed's +1, but as a -2, which is terrible. But it does keep you venturing into dungeons. So if you're playing a dungeons deck, it's good, but that means it's not good in historic. It's only pretty good in standard if you make a dungeons deck in standard. -7, which is like a lot of turns later. You get an emblem with creatures you control, have trample and hasting a +2/+2 per each differently named dungeon you've completed. So I think this card's unplayable in historic. Elderguard Ranger is a 5 mana 4/1 with reach. When it enters the battlefield, make a 2/2. Unplayable. Find the Path, 3 mana enchant land. It's an aura. When it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon, and it has add double green. So this is basically a really bad version of a mana rock. And it is dungeon related, so maybe you play this in an Elwick Tumblestorm deck. Not playable in historic. Froghemoth. 5 mana 4/4, trample haste. Whenever Froghemoth deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many cards from their graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature card exiled this way. You gain 1 life for each non-creature card exiled this way. So this is like a one-time Scavenging Ooze. It does have haste and trample though. It's yeah, it's Glory Scoozer. It's like Glory Bringer with Scavenging Ooze in the same card. But like Scavenging Ooze is like better than this. It's like almost exactly Scooze. I can see this being really good. Like, because sometimes Scavenging Ooze takes, like, too much mana to exile everything you want to exile in the Phoenix deck. So I can see this being a card in green-based ramp-style decks against Phoenix. Like, it has to deal damage, but it also has trample. It doesn't have to deal a certain amount of combat damage. It just has to deal 1 damage. So, like, you could just play this against Phoenix and then just exile their entire grave. Wait, no, it's not their entire grave. Crap, I thought it was the entire grave. It's 4 cards. Oh, they just Burning Hands it. Never mind, trash. If Burning Hands is legal, this card's awful. Okay, unplayable. Null Hunter. Okay, every one of these green cards is probably unplayable because of the freaking hands card. Null Hunter is a 2 mana 2/2. Whenever it attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, put a 1/1 counter on it. Unplayable. Green Dragon, 6 mana 4/4. Flying Poison Breath when Green Dragon enters the battlefield until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, destroy it. Unplayable. Hill Giant, Herd Gorger, 6 mana 7/6. Unplayable in historic. Hunter's Mask, 4 mana instant. It costs 3 less to cast if it targets a blue permanent you don't control. Oh, so it's 1 mana? And it can't be countered. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn, then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Holy crap. So this is... Wait. No, it's not good, right? Because if you use this, they just kill your creature in response. This is so risky. Like, yeah, it's 1 mana, can't be countered, +1/+1, deal damage against the control deck. But, like, all the creature-based decks are playing, like, Brazen Borrowers and stuff, and all the control decks are playing, like, Aether Gusts and Commits and Lightning Helixes and stuff. This card's not playable in Historic. Inspiring Bard, 4 mana 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, or you gain 3 life. Not playable. Instrument of the Bards. It's a 1 mana legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a Harmony counter on it. Pay 4 and tap it. Search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to the number of Harmony counters on it. Reveal it. Put it in your hand. If that card is legendary, make a treasure token. Then shuffle. Uh-huh. Oh, it only puts it into your hand for 4 mana? That's bad. Unplayable. I think. I can see this being played in like a combo deck though. Intrepid Outlander, and you just pay 4 mana and tap out on your opponent's turn. It doesn't sacrifice itself, but it could be good in Paradox Engine. Intrepid Outlander is a 2 mana 2/3 with reach, which is pretty good stats. Whenever Intrepid Outlander attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater, this combat venture into the dungeon. I don't think that's good. It's not good. It's just not good enough. 2 mana 2/3 is pretty good, but it doesn't slot into any deck really. What is this card? It's a 5 mana 6/2 Poisonous Troll. Pay 4 mana to roll a d20. Activate this only if Poisonous Troll is in your graveyard. 1 through 9, put it on top of your library. 10 through 19, return it to your hand. 20, and it goes in the battlefield tapped. So most of the time, it's going to like go to the top or go to your hand. And for 4 mana, that's not good enough. Long Rest is X and 3 green for a sorcery. Return X target cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand. If 8 or more cards are returned to your hand this way, your title total becomes equal to your starting life total, and exile it. Insane in EDH. But in Historic, do you have enough time to do this? Probably not. 8 cards with different mana values is, like, impossible. So this is going to be, like, a really bad Balagan recovery most of the time, and that card's not playable, so I'm going to say it's not playable. This card is Lurking Roper. 2 and a green for a horror. It does not untap during your untap step. Whenever you gain life, untap it. But it's a 3 mana 4/5. I mean, that's a blocker if I've ever seen one. That's basically like a Lovestruck Beast. It's a Lovestruck Beast that doesn't need a 1/1 to attack. And it also doesn't, so if you choose to attack with it, it doesn't untap unless you gain life. It's really easy to gain life in Standard. Gaining life in Historic's a little harder, because in Standard you have, like, pests being sacrificed and things. I'm going to say, since this is worse than Lovestruck Beast, it's just unplayable. Neverwinter Dryad. 1 mana, 1/1. You can pay 2 and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic forest card, put it in the battlefield, tapped and shuffle. This card is really good in EDH. Like, especially if you play Muldrotha. This is just another card to ramp with to put in your Muldrotha deck that's not Sakura Tribe Elder. This is like another Elder that's a little worse. But you would definitely play this in Muldrotha. But like in Historic, do you play this card? No, because you could just play Into the North or Explore. Or Growth Spiral or whatever you want, so unplayable. Gelatina Ochre, so this is like something else. Ochre Jelly. X and a green, and it's an ooze with trample. A trampling ooze. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Divide. When it dies, if it had 2 or more +1/+1 counters on it. Okay, so if it was a 2/2, create a token as a copy of it at the beginning of the next end step. That token enters the battlefield with half of those +1/+1 counters on it. Run it down. Oh. This is kind of crazy with the, yeah, with Conclave Mentor or the Snake. Or with Hardened Scales, yeah. It just never dies. Ozolith, yeah, it just never dies. That's hilarious. Is it good? It's probably good. It's probably really good in the counters decks. And also, the fact that you can cast this with Lurrus is pretty funny. And it has Trample. Honestly, I think this is playable. I think this is actually playable in like the Abzan counters decks. Like the fact that you can get it back with Lurrus, and like you have the Ozolith, and you can double the counters, and it just never dies. I think this card's really good. I think it's really good in the like the counters deck isn't that good, but I think this card's good in that deck. So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 because the deck's not good. But this card's very good in that deck, and I think it's like just very good in that deck. How much exile is there in Historic? Not as much as you'd think. It's really like Extinction Event, but that card's like pretty rare. Shadow's Verdict, no one ever plays that. I'm just trying to think of things that exile, and I really just can't. Like Baffling End and things like that. Old Gnawbone. Yeah, Vanishing Verse. Deckenstone. Yeah. There's some cards that definitely exile, but that card's like really good. Old Gnawbone. 7 mana, 7/7 flying mythic rare dragon. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. Why does things revolve around combat damage in this set? Like, I would agree that that's probably good, but like, if it had haste, it's a 7 mana card. At least it dodges the stupid fire hands. Like, this card's just not good. I'm gonna give it a 0 out of 5. Just unplayable in Historic. What is this card? This is the Owlbear or whatever it's called? Yeah. Owlbear. 5 mana, Bird Bear, Trample, Keen Sense. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Unplayable. Plummet. This card has been reprinted a bunch of times. Unplayable. Prosperous Innkeeper. 2 mana, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. This might be played in some kind of like Selesnya life gain deck, but I don't think it's good. Making a treasure token's whatever. But this card's like fine, I guess. I don't think it's playable. Purple Worm is a 7 mana 8/7. This spell costs 2 less to cast if a creature died this turn. There's something similar to this card actually in Hearthstone, and it got banned. But 2 less if a creature died this turn. Which doesn't stack on creatures. It's just 2 less, so it becomes a 5 mana card. With Ward 2, I think it's bad. Ranger class, 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2. Alright, fine. So it's a bear, and it has a bear with upside. Whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. And that's pretty good. 4 mana for level 3. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. So it becomes a Vizier of the Menagerie. So you get a 2/2, and then you get like a free 1/1 counter every time you attack, and then you get a free Vizier of Menagerie. But is this playable in like any Historic deck? Nothing cares about bears or wolves. Your 2 mana cards are usually better than a 2/2. Like, you can technically play this card instead of like Zerta Goblin in Gruul in Historic, but it's not better than Voltaic Brawler, and it's not better than Burning Tree Emissary. I don't know any other. It's not better than Scavenging Ooze either. You know what? This card might be good against like control decks. In like Gruul or Mono Green. Like a sideboard card. Because like getting a free Vizier of the Menagerie for 2 mana, like it makes a 2/2 already, and then your opponent deals with the 2/2, and then you like wait a couple turns, and then you Vizier of Menagerie them. This card has potential in Historic, in the sideboard against control decks, I think, and I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 because of it. Ranger's Longbow. 2 mana artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +2/+1 and has reach. Equip 3. Really bad. Scaled Herbalist. 2 mana 1/3. You may play a land card from your hand to the battlefield. Really bad. Spoils of the Hunt. 3 mana instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each mana from a treasure that was spent to cast a spell. Then you can deal damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. This card's insane and limited. It's similar to like Ambuscade, but like this card's really bad in Historic. 3 mana is way too much. This is Sylvan Pastor, Sylvan Shepherd. 2 mana green for Human Druid for 2/3. Whenever it attacks, roll a d20. You gain a life, gain 2 life, or gain 5 life. Unplayable in Historic. This card is Tarask. For 9 mana, you get a dinosaur, and it's a 10/10. When it enters the battlefield, it was cast, it gains haste and ward 10. Whenever Tarask attacks, it fights the target creature defending player controls. I mean, it's good, but is it better than Ghalta? It also doesn't... Wait, how does this card not have Trample? Hello? How does this not have Trample? Hello? I mean, this is a Mythic Rare. At least give it Trample. Like, this dies to Noxious Grasp and, like, Aether Gust. It dies from a Gust of Wind, and it's a freaking Elder Dinosaur. Hello? This card's awful. Alright, Underdark Basilisk. 2 mana 1/2 Death Touch. Bad. Varus Silvermoon Ranger. 3 mana 3/3. Okay. You can gust it on the stack, Exiled. It doesn't have Ward 10 when it's not in the battlefield yet. But, yeah, I can agree that using Noxious Grasp on this card is very difficult. But there's also Wrath of God. And Infinite Chump Blocker. Like, this thing gets chump blocked infinitely by Castle Ardenvale. Like, come on, give this thing Trample. Anyways, Varus Silvery Moon Ranger. Reach and Ward 1 for a 3/3. Whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker, venture into the dungeon. Okay, this is actually a cast trigger, which is good. It triggers only once each turn. Okay. Whenever you complete a dungeon, credit 2/2 Wolf. I mean, this has just got to be worse than every other 3-drop that's played, right? It's worse than the Elephant that's also a land. It's worse than Lovestruck Beast. It's worse than every other 3-drop that's played in white. So it doesn't fit in the green-white company deck. And if it doesn't fit in the green-white company deck, then it's probably bad. So I'm going to say it's bad. This card is Wandering Bard. 4 mana, 4/2 at the beginning of your end step. If a land enters the battlefield under your control this turn, venture in the dungeon. This card is awful. It's a 4 mana card that dies to stomp. Abbey Tower, thanks for the sub. Appreciate the prime. Thank you. Werewolf Pack Leader is a 2 mana 3/3 Pack Tactics. Whenever a Werewolf Pack Leader attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater, this combat, draw a card. Okay. That seems insane. So you can go like turn 1 Pelt Collector, turn 2 this, turn 3 whatever, grow the Pelt Collector to 6, attack with this, draw a card? That seems good. Let's look for the downside. All right, this paragraph's probably the downside, right? Pay 4 mana until end of turn. Werewolf Pack Leader has base power and toughness 5/3, gains trample, and isn't a Hello? I need an adult. I need an adult. What is this card? Okay, so turn 1 Pelt Collector, turn 2 Werewolf Pack Leader, turn 3, you know, whatever broken 3-drop that has more than 2 power. Pelt Collector grows to 3 power. You attack with Pelt Collector and Werewolf Pack Leader. That's 6 power. It triggers this. Draw a card. Next turn is 4 mana. You play a land, and then you use this ability to make it a 5/3 with Trample. I mean, This card's a 6 out of 5. Like, I'm playing Mono Green Stompy after this card comes out. Does it replace Burning Tree? I don't think so. Burning Tree's too insane and it's free. This card is a definition of PogChamp. Wow, this is like 2 and a 3/3 with upside and another upside? Hello? This has no downside. And you can't cast it off of Burning Tree Emissary, so it's not going to go in Gruul. It's going to go in Mono Green Stompy. And this makes Mono Green Stompy a lot better. Holy crap. Anyway, Wild Shape. 2 mana, or 1 mana instant, choose one. Until end of turn, target creature you control has base power and toughness, becomes that creature type and gains that ability. You can choose it to be a 1/3 turtle with hexproof, a 1/5 spider with reach, or a 3/3 elephant with trample. Huh. Wild Shape has a place in Modern Infect. Yeah, you can give your stuff hexproof when they go to kill it. Or you can just give your little, you know, you can give your freaking infect creature trample. Infect and trample. Yeah, that's very nice. It's also 1 mana. I don't think this is good enough in Historic though. So I'm gonna say unplayable for now. You find a cursed idol. 2 mana sorcery, choose one, smash it, destroy an artifact, lift the curse, destroy an enchantment, or steal its eyes. Create a treasure token and venture into the dungeon. Wow! You get to do both? Create a treasure token and venture into the dungeon? Man. Destroy an artifact and an enchantment, and make a treasure token and venture into the dungeon. Like, it is sorcery speed, but it is a lot of stuff. Like, it ramps you. Is this playable? Is this playable as a sideboard? Is this better than Wilt? Is this, like, what's the artifact and enchantment hate in Historic right now? Like, what's the enchantment hate? Because artifact hate is already with, like, Prismari Command and Culligan's Command. Rex Sage, Knight of Autumn? What else kills enchantments? The 2 mana black card that kills enchantments? This could have a home. Memory lapse. This could have a place, especially because it makes a treasure token. I don't know. I'm gonna say it's a 2 out of 5 because potential. You have an Unglade. 3 mana instant. Choose one. Journey on. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal and put them in your hand, then shuffle. Really bad for 3 mana. Make camp. Return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Get 2 lands or return a permanent. This is very dirtily. I think it's pretty bad. I think it's unplayable in Historic. You meet in a tavern. 4 mana sorcery. Choose one. Form a party. Look at the top 5 cards in your library. You may reveal any number of creatures from among them and put them in your hand. Put them in the rest of the bottom of the library in a random order. This is already better than Lead the Pack or whatever it's called. Pack Lead? Lead the Pack? Start a brawl. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. This card's awful. Unplayable. Moving on to the multicolored cards. Alright, Adult Gold Dragon. I need an adult! 5 mana, 4/3, Flying and Lifelink Haste, and that's it. I mean, Flying and Lifelink Haste is pretty weird to have all together, but I mean, it's 5 mana. I mean, Goldspan Dragon, and this doesn't pass the Glorybringer test, right? So it's just bad. Alright, unplayable. Bard class. It is a Gruul class card. Legendary creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. Okay, alright. Pay Gruul for a 2nd level. Legendary spells you cast cost Gruul less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. Level 3 is 5 mana. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. So if you play this card on turn 2, to have legendaries enter the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on them, And then on turn 3, you upgrade it to cost Gruul less to cast. Then on turn 4, you can cast Niv Misery Reborn for 3 mana. Or cast Klothys for 1 mana. Huh. I don't think this is good enough in Niv Misery Reborn because if you don't have it on turn 2, it's just really bad. Yeah, I don't know. It would have to be in some kind of Legendaries deck, which I don't think is that good. Barrowin of Clan Under. 4 mana, 3/3 Orzhov card. When it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. Whenever it attacks, return up to 1 creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield if you completed a dungeon. I think it's bad historic. Bruenor Battlehammer, 4 mana, 5/3. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. Okay, bad. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate each turn. Oh, what if... Oh my god. Wait, what if... Does this finally make the freaking Colossal Hammer playable? It doesn't? It doesn't, says Exiled? Like, Colossal Hammer costs 0 to equip. Does this make, like, the... I don't know if it makes that deck good. I mean, this card's not that good. I mean, it's a 4 mana 5/3. I mean... It makes the equip... It makes the thing equipped to it also get +2/+0? I don't know. I don't think it's playable. Alright, Dritsit Doerden. Dritsit Doerden. 5 mana, 3/3. Selesnya Elf Ranger. Double strike. So, kind of like a 6/3. When it enters the battlefield, create Gwenhwyvar, a legendary 4/1 green cat creature token with trample. Oh, wow. So it's a 5 mana, 6-ish 3 that makes a 4/1. Whenever a creature dies, if it had power greater than Dritsit's power, put a number of 1/1 counters on Dritsit equal to the difference. Wow, so if the cat dies, then this gets a 1/1 counter, so it becomes a 4 mana, or 4 power double striker. The question is this better than the 5 mana card that makes a 3/3 that makes the dog that fights something? Is this card better or worse than that card? The one that makes the dog and fights something. Yeah, Tolsimir. Is it better or worse than Tolsimir? I don't know, I'm inclined to think that this card's worse than Tolsimir. But it does make a 4/1. You'd rather play Elder Gargoth, but not if you're playing Niv Misery Reborn. I'm thinking about Niv Misery Reborn. Plus, you gotta think these cards are dying to the 2 mana red instant anyway. I don't know. I don't think it's that playable. It's 5 mana. Usually the Selesnya decks are playing Collected Company. I don't know. Like, in order to play Tolsimir, you have to not play Gigantha. This is playable with Gigantha, so maybe it's a good enough threat to play. But being at 5 mana competes with a lot of cards like Scarab God, and I'm not willing to play another 5 mana card, I don't think, so I'm going to say it's unplayable. This card is Farida, Devil's Chosen. 4 mana Izzet card as a 3/3 Tiefling Warlock. Whenever you roll a die, she gets Menace and Flying until end of turn. Wow, okay. If any of the result is 10 or higher, draw a card. I mean, if you were to build a die rolling deck, this is the card you'd play. I just don't think die rolling is going to be good, so I'm going to say no. Fighter class is a 2 mana class. When it Enters battlefield, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. So fighter class, search it. It lets you like toolbox your equipments. You can play like Ember Cleave or Maul the Sky Cleaves or whatever. 3 mana for level 2. Equip abilities you activate cost 2 less to activate. And then level 3, pay 5 mana for that one. Whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks it this turn if able. This combat if able. I mean, I can see this card being played in like some kind of weird version of a Doom Foretold deck, but I don't think this card's good. I don't know. It tutors the hammer. There we go. Hey, Admiral Creamer, what's up? How's it going? Good to see ya. I don't think Fire Class is that playable in Historic. Gretchen Titchwillow. It's a 2-mana 0/4 legendary creature, and you pay 4 mana to draw a card and put a land from your hand in the battlefield. I think it's like really bad. Why is it legendary? I don't know, maybe it has some kind of like thing with the D&D lore. Anyway, unplayable. 3 mana 2/3 for Hama Pashar Ruin Seeker. A legendary creature, human wizard, room abilities, dungeons you own trigger an additional time. Alright, unplayable in Historic. Kalane Reclusive Painter is a Rakdos 1/2 legendary creature. When Kalane Reclusive Painter enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each mana from a treasure spent to cast them. Really bad. About to play some Call of Duty. Have a good stream. Have a wonderful rest of your stream, Admiral Creamer. Get a tactical nuke for me. Alright. Cradle of Baldur's Gate. Blue-black. Legendary creature, human elf rogue. When Cradle deals damage combat damage to a player, that player loses a life and mills a card, and you gain a life and scry one. Okay. This is a rogue, though. Wait, this is a rogue that mills cards. There's a dual-color uncommon legendary creature cycle to signpost what Wizards has each color pair built towards. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. So this is a rogue, and it mills a card. And you scry. And then whenever you attack, you may pay 2 mana. If you do, target creature can't be blocked. Maybe it's a one-of. It doesn't have flash, but it mills cards. Well, yeah, you just play this as like the 5th copy of Soaring Thought Thief, if you wanted to play that. So I could say that has potential at being a one-of. But we'll see. I'm going to give this like a 2.5 out of 5 for maybe a potential one-of. Minsk Beloved Ranger is a Naya 3/3. When Minsk Beloved Ranger enters the battlefield, create Boo, a legendary 1/1 hamster creature token with trample and haste. Pay X. Until end of turn, target creature you control has base power and toughness XX and becomes a giant in addition to its other types. Activate only as a sorcery. So turn 3, you go Minsk, make Boo. And then you go turn 4, play a land. Pay 4, make Boo a 4/4, and it has trample and haste. Huh. Go for the eyes, Boo! Go for the eyes! My eyes! My eyes! I don't know if this card's playable or not. Probably not. I don't know. Probably not playable. Monk class. 2 mana. Azorius card. The second spell you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. Wow. When this class becomes level 2, return it to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. What? Level 3, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. For as long as it remains exiled, it has you may cast this card from exile as long as you cast another spell this turn. Wait, hello? How do you gain levels? You pay the mana associated with them. As you see right here, you have to pay an additional Azorius mana, white-blue, to put this to level 2. And then you pay 1 white-blue to put this to level 3. I think Monk class is the best class we've seen so far. I think it's the best class we've seen so far. Like, this card is definitely super playable in, like, any blue-white control or Jeskai control deck. Wow. Second spell costs 1 less? So you can just, like, brainstorm into, like, whatever spell that costs less? I mean, that's just really good. And then you get to, like, bounce their thing when it... Then you can bounce their thing. Like, you're like, okay, my turn? Alright, pay 2 mana, bounce your thing. Do my turn. And then it becomes, like, card advantage. Even though if it exiles lands, you can't use it. But whatever. This card's like a 4.5 out of 5. Orcus, Prince of Undeath. This is the card I was talking about for Niv Mizzet Reborn. X, 2, and black-red. So it's at least 4 mana for a 5/3. And it has Flying Trample. At the very least, it's a 4 mana 5/3 Flying Trample, which is already kind of good. I think Control plays it, Pure Vita. So when Orcus, Prince of Undeath, enters the battlefield, choose one. Number 1, each other creature gets -X until end of turn, you lose X life. That's the thing I'm talking about. This card is a 4+ mana sweeper as a creature in Niv Mizzet Reborn. Right? So you could technically pay like 6 mana for this, which is easy to do in Niv Mizzet Reborn because you're ramping anyway with like cards like Prismari Command and things like that. Okay? And then you can just like have other creatures get -2/-2 and you lose X life. Sure, you lose X life, but you kill all the Adanto Vanguards and all the other stuff. Or if you have a lot of mana, if you have like 9 mana or whatever, you can just give everything -5/-5. You just board wipe them, and take 5 life. Sure, you're playing like a lot of life gain, but like you get to like board wipe them in a creature that you can get off of Niv Mizzet Reborn, and it's also a creature and has flying and trample. Or you can return up to X target creature cards with total mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. They gain haste till end of turn. So, or if you have like 9 mana, you can just cast this for 9, and then just like reborn your Niv Mizzet. This is like so good. And this lets you bring back your Scarab God. Which, usually, Scarab God, you cannot get back out of the graveyard when it dies, or gets discarded or something. With this, you can bring it back with 9 mana. I think this card is playable. I think it's very good. I think it's a 4 out of 5, if not higher. You can even play it as a top end in like a Rakdos mid-range deck or something, and just like bring some Knight of the Ebon Legions or whatever back. And they gain haste. Okay, I think this card's actually really good. 4.5 out of 5. Rogue class. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library face down. You may look at it for as long as it remains exiled. So, like, it mills a card? Technically? Not technically, but it technically exiles it, but, like, it effectively mills. You can pay 3 to put to level 2 to have creatures you control have menace. And you can pay 4 mana for level 3. You can play cards exiled with Rogue class, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast a spell. So, basically, it's like a play your opponent's deck type of thing, and it also kind of mills them. The exile helps with Ashiok. It helps with just milling them with rogues in general. I don't see this card being playable in Historic. I see it being played more in Standard Rogues after rotation, but unplayable in Historic. Shesra, Death's Whisper is a 4 mana 1/3. Bewitching Whispers. When Shesra, Death's Whisper enters the battlefield, target creature blocks this turn of Fable. Really bad. Whispers of the Grave. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 2 life if you do draw a card. I mean, that's, like, better, but 4 mana 1/3? No. Not good. Unplayable. Skeletal Swarming. It's a 5 mana enchantment. This better be better than Divine Visitation, then. Each skeleton you control has trample, attacks each tribe out of Fable, and gets +X/+O, where X is the number of other skeletons you control. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 1/1 black skeleton creature token. If a creature died this turn, create 2 of those tokens instead. So if you made a skeletons deck, which is probably not playable already, this card's fine, but it's a 5 mana enchantment. I'm going to say unplayable in Historic. Sorcerer class. This looks like it's supposed to be for, like, Is It Giants, with how this art is. When Sorcerer class enters battlefield, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Okay, fine. Level 2. Creatures you control have tap, add red or blue. Spend this mana only to cast instant or sorceries or to gain a class level. But it says creatures you control have that. Why would you be playing creatures in a sorcerer class deck? Level 3 is 5 mana. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, that spell deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of instant and sorceries you've cast this turn. Yeah, this is the worst class. yeah, this is just so bad. Alright, unplayable in every way. Alright, this is Targnar, Demon Fanged. It is a 2 mana 2/2 for Gruul, so you can cast this off Burning Tree. It is a null. Pack Tactics. Whenever Targnar attacks, if you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. And you can pay 4 to double the power and toughness of Targnar until end of turn. Huh. Monk class is the best class you can. But this card is probably bad. Yeah, probably bad. Unplayable. It would be good in Gruul if this card was, like, any better than what it is, but I don't think it's good. You know what? It could be okay. It buffs your entire team. Like, say you go turn 1 Pelt Collector, turn 2 Burning Tree into this. Which means you have 6 power on your next turn. So then you go, play a land, 6 power. Now, Burning Tree's a 3/2. Pelt Collector's the 3/2. This is a 3/2. You're attacking for 9. You're also potentially attacking for 12 if you have a haster. Yeah, like, Voltaic Brawler is just so much better than this card, so, like, what would you ever, like, cut for this? Like, even though this is a Coco hit, like, what would you ever cut for this? Like, you would play this in, like, you'd probably play this in, like, a Gruul Atarka's Command build, though. Yeah, like, if you're playing, like, a really go-wide Atarka's Command deck, I think this card would be playable as, like, a one-of, because it's legendary. So, I would say playable one-of legendary abilities, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 in Historic. Because of the deck that it's in. Like, it's still +1/+0 is still pretty good. Tiamat. 7 mana, 7/7 flyer. ETB, if you cast it, search your library for up to 5 dragons, not named Tiamat, that have different names, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. This is, like, the most win more card I've ever seen. Not only is Niv Mizzet 10 times better than this, but this is also 20 times worse than Niv Mizzet. And it puts them into your hand. Okay, this card's awful. Moving on. This is a Selesnya 2 mana 2/2, and it's legendary. It's an elf. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it, and scry 1. That's card not. It doesn't have a home in Historic. Not playable. Exactly, exiled. Triumphant Adventurer. 2 mana 1/1 Death Touch. As long as it's your turn, it has First Strike. First Strike Death Touch, not bad. Whenever Triumphant attacks, venture into the dungeon. Whatever, now it's bad. Volo Guide to Monsters. It's a 4 mana 3/2. Whenever you cast a creature that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature in your graveyard, copy it. Okay, so they specifically made this card not good in Modern Humans. They specifically made this card not good in Modern Humans. I mean, this card's really bad. It dies to Stomp. Unplayable in Historic. Xanathar, Guild Kingpin. 6 mana 5/6. It's a Beholder. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until the end of turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of your library, their library anytime. You may play the top card of their library, including lands, and you may spend mana as or mana of any color to cast spells this way. Okay. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you can just play lands off the top of your opponent's library and also cast spells off the top of their library. So this is like a card advantage machine. So this is like, I guess, kind of similar to Gonti, but also it triggers to to have them not cast spells, so they can still respond to the trigger, which means they can still bounce this card or kill this card in response to the trigger. No, it says you may look at the top card of their library. You may play the top card of their library, which means you may play the land. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast spells this way, but you can still play their lands, because it says you may play the top card of the library, not cast. Why would you not want to play the land? Well, if you needed a land, you would play it, I guess. Terrible card by Xanathar. I mean, this card is probably terrible. I mean, you could lock them, I guess, by, like, casting their spell and making them have lands on top, but I don't think this card's good. It's just like, it's just like really bad. I know, but like 6 mana though. If this was 4 mana, if this was like a 4 mana 3/4, or like a 4 mana 4/5, this would be really good. But it's not. I don't think this is playable. Like, why would you play this instead of playing like Shark Typhoon? I don't know. I think it's unplayable. Prove me wrong, though, chat. Prove me wrong. Bag of Holding. We're moving on to the artifacts here. 1 mana artifact. Whenever you discard a card, exile a card from your graveyard. We've already seen this is reprinted. I'm kind of glad it's reprinted, though. If this set didn't print Bag of Holding, I would have been upset. Two mana, tap it, draw a card, discard a card. 4 mana, sacrifice it, return all cards exiled. This card's always been unplayable. The Deck of Many Things is a 5 mana legendary artifact. Pay 2 and tap it to roll a d20 and subtract the number of cards in your hand. Roll d20, subtract the number of cards in your hand. So if I have like 3 cards in hand, let's say, roll d20, subtract 3. If the result is 0 or less, discard your hand. Okay, so I have to roll between 4 and 20. If you roll 1 through 9, return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand. So that's really like 4 through 12. Okay, and then you can draw 2 cards if you roll over 12. God, this card's bad. And if you roll nat 20, you can put a creature from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. When that creature dies, its owner loses the game. Okay, that's just freaking terrible. Anyway, worst card I've ever seen. Dungeon Map. 3 mana artifact, so it's a mana rock. And you can pay 3 and tap it to venture into the dungeon. I mean, it's good and limited. Really, really bad and constructed. Eye of Vecna. This is a card I think is really good. In Historic with what's it called? With Death Shadow. 2 mana legendary artifact. When Eye of Vecna enters the battlefield, you draw a card and lose 2 life. So really good with Death Shadow. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2. If you do, you draw a card and you lose 2 life. Really good with Death Shadow. So you can choose to pay 2. If you don't have to lose the life and you don't have to draw the card. But however long you have this card in play, you draw a card at the start of your turn and you also lose life. And you can bring this card back with Luris. How is 2 mana too slow for Death Shadow? Like, that deck grinds. It's 4 mana? Like, not really. You can just play it on turn 2, draw a card, take 2 life, do your turn for the next, like, 3 turns, and then you can start, at the beginning of your upkeep, you can start drawing cards off this again and losing life. You don't have to pay the 2, though. You can just choose whenever you want to pay it. I think it's really good. And you can bring it back with Luris. 50 feet of rope is a 1 mana artifact. Climb over. Target wall can't block. That's unplayable. Tie up. 3 mana and tap it. Target creature doesn't untap. Okay, it's a little bit better. I think this is really good and limited. Repel down. 4 and tap it. Venture into the dungeon. Okay, really unplayable in any format besides limited. Great Axe. 1 mana equipment. Equip creature is +4/+0. Okay. Equip 5. Okay. Well, this works really good with really well with the creature the 4 mana creature what you saw, the Boros creature. That says the first equipment that you cast costs 0. So we'll see if that's playable in Limited, but unplayable in Historic. Hand of Vecna is a 3-mana legendary artifact equipment. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, equip a creature or a creature you control named Vecna. Okay, gets +X till end of turn where X is the number of cards in your hand. Equip, pay a life for each card in your hand. Oh, so you can equip this card for basically free. So on turn 2, you play your Odonto Vanguard or whatever, and then turn 3, you get to, like, pay 3 life and equip this. You get to play a land, play this, play, like, 3 or 4 life, equip it, and then it gets +X where X is the number of cards in your hand. That's actually, like, really good. I think that card's really good. I mean, it's also good in Death Shadow. Iron Golem is a 4-mana 5/3 artifact creature golem vigilance and attacks to block each combat. Card's bad. A Leather Armor is a 1-mana equipment. Equip creatures +0/+1 and has ward 1. Equip 0, activate only once each turn. I mean, equip 0 is pretty snazzy, but, like, I don't think it's playable in Historic. Mimic. I see the Mimic in the treasure chest art. What about it, Exiled? You play full Vecna package for the memes. The thing about Hand of Vecna is that you wouldn't be able to play it in Death Shadow because of Luris. The reason why I like Eye of Vecna is because you can still play Luris with it. Mimic is an artifact. It is a Mimic. All right, sacrifice it. Adam, Clark. Okay, so so it's basically a treasure. Oh, it is a treasure, literally. Pay 2 mana. It becomes a shapeshifter artifact creature token with base power and toughness 3/3 till end of turn. So this is a 2 mana 3/3 for 2 extra mana per turn. But it also could just be a treasure. So you're paying 2 mana to, like, ramp you in the future, or just be a 3/3. This reminds me a lot of the artifact that the historic artifact ramp deck plays. That you can pay 2 mana to become a 2/2, but it also is just a mana rock. So that card's probably this card's probably worse than that card. So I'm gonna say this card's unplayable. It does cost 0 with Ugin, but it's worse than the card they're already playing. Spare Dagger is a 1-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice it. When you do it, it deals 1 damage to any target. That's cool. So you're kind of like just throwing the Spare Dagger. And then you equip 1. So I think this card's bad. Spiked Pit Trap. It's a 1-mana with Flash. Artifact Flash. Pay 5 mana and tap it to sacrifice it. Choose a target creature, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, it deals 5 damage to it. 10 through 20, it deals 5 damage to it and create a treasure token. So basically, it's like 6 mana, 5 damage, which is awful. Really good and limited, though. Treasure Chest. Oh, yeah. The treasure chest here and this Mimic are actually the same treasure chest. In the arts with the bones here. And the bones there. It's a 3-mana artifact. Pay 4 and sacrifice it. Roll a d20. 1 is trapped and you just lose 3 life. So you can roll a nat 1. I think this is the only card with nat 1 on it, but I could be wrong. 2 through 9, make 5 treasure tokens. 10 through 19, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. And then 20 is search your library for a card. If it's an artifact card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put the card into your hand and shuffle. I mean, is this a Paradox? Is this a Paradox Engine deck card? Like, more than likely, you're gonna make 5 treasures or gain 3 life and draw 3. Both of those things you're okay with if you're playing Paradox Engine. But it might just be too expensive. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's unplayable. Moving on to the lands. Cave of the Frost Dragon. If you control 2 or more other lands, Cave of the Frost Dragon enters battlefield tapped. Okay, so this has to be the first or second land you play for it to be actually untapped. So it adds white mana, and then you can pay 5 mana to have it become a 3/4 white dragon creature token with flying until end of turn. It's still a land. I mean, a 3/4 with flying is really good. But for 5 mana, though, like, you have to also pay 5 mana and not tap this land, so it's 6 mana. And it's also not a snow land, lol. Den of the Bugbear is, if you control 2 or more other lands, it comes in the battlefield tapped, add red. You can pay 4 until end of turn. It becomes a 3/2 red goblin with whenever this creature attacks, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. It's still a land. Okay, this is just automatic 4 of in goblins, isn't it? Or maybe like a 2 of? This is definitely played in goblins. It literally makes a goblin. Until end of turn, it becomes a 3/2 red goblin with whenever it attacks, make a 1/1 goblin attacking. Well, that's actually just really good. Are any of these lands better than Blinkmoth Nexus, though? Dungeon Descent. It enters battlefield tapped. Add colorless. 4 mana and tap it. Tap an untapped legendary creature you control. Venture into the dungeon. That was pretty decent for dungeon decks. But why does it enter tapped? Whatever. Wizards does this weird thing at making this really cool thing that they're doing with like a cool mechanic like the dungeon mechanic, and then having their land come in tapped, which makes it unplayable. So, as soon as they start making their literal mechanic land come in untapped, then they'll always be bad. Like, why does it freaking come in tapped? Anyway. Like Party. Party is such a good example. If they would have just made the Party land come in untapped, there would be actually competitive Party decks. But no, they don't want Party to be competitive. No, they don't want Dungeon to be competitive. They just want them to be like the fan favorite thing, and you know, the Dungeons and Dragons thing to do for fun and not for actually good stuff. Anyway, Evolving Wilds, it's a really good art for Evolving Wilds, but it's Evolving Wilds, so whatever. The blue one says, Hall of the Storm Giants. If you control 2 or more other lands, Hall of the Storm Giants enters the battlefield tapped. Tap to add blue. 5 in a blue, so 6 mana, until end of turn, Hall of the Storm Giants becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with Ward 3. Hello? Why does the heck does this have Ward 3? Why the heck is it a 7/7? You have to pay. You do have to like spend your entire turn doing this though. Like that's a lot of mana. That's like your entire turn of mana. And it can get chumped. I don't know. Like, like, you would just play Crawling Barons at that point. I don't know. Anyway. Hive of the Eye Tyrant. If you control any more other lands, Hive of the Eye Tyrant its battlefield taps. So this is the black one. Tap to add black mana. You can pay 4 until end of turn. Hive of the Eye Tyrant becomes a 3/3 Black Beholder creature token. Or not token. Creature with Menace. And whenever this creature attacks, exile target card from defending player's graveyard. It's still a land. So, it has Menace, which is really good, so it can't really get chumped. Like, that often. And then it also exiles cards from graves as a 3/3. I mean, I think that's pretty good. I think that's the best one yet. And then this green one, Nest of the Hydra. If you control 2 more other lands, it comes in tapped. Tap to add green. And then X into green. Nest of the Hydra becomes an XX green Hydra creature token to creature at the end of turn. It's still land. X can't be 0. Well, this card's broken. Because, like, the fact that you can make this as little or as big as you want makes this so good. Like, you can just use your leftover mana for this one. Like, for all the other ones, it takes almost your entire turn to use it. This, you can be like, okay, well, I'm not using 2 of my extra mana. Let me just put, like, X equals 1 into this and hit them for 1. You know? I think this one is, like, the best one. Temple of the Dragon Queen. As Temple of the Dragon Queen enters the battlefield, you may reveal a dragon from your hand. Temple of the Dragon Queen enters the battlefield tapped unless you can reveal a dragon card this way or you control a dragon. As Temple of the Dragon Queen enters the battlefield, choose a color. Add a mana of the chosen color. Wait a second. Oh my gosh. Oh, never mind. Crap. I thought this tapped for any color, but it just taps for a mana of the chosen color. I was going to say it could be played in Nimbus Reborn. But, like... you don't always have Niv in your hand. Dang it. And I thought this tapped for any color, but you have to choose one. Dang it. I was so happy for this. But, like, I guess you can reveal a dragon in your hand. Like, you can just reveal Niv in your hand. But you have to reveal it, though. And then you just add a mana of the chosen color. It's only a good land when you have Niv in hand. But I don't think it's good. I think it's really good and limited, though. Treasure Vault. When you see this vault artwork, I think Mana Vault, so I thought it was broken. Is this card broken? Add colorless, and you can pay XX and sacrifice Treasure Vault. Oh god, and make X treasure tokens? Is this card good? Oh, it's an artifact land. That makes the mono white deck better. It also makes like it makes Karnstructs better. It makes Emery better. Like you're probably never using the sacrifice it to make treasure tokens thing. Unless you really want to play it. Unless you really... actually? Actually, this card is broken in the mono black Tron deck. Because you can actually sacrifice this to make black mana. You crack it late game to, like, swing him with a huge construct. I think this card's actually really good. It's also good in the mono white artifacts deck. Emery can get this back, can't it? Can Emery get this back? Emery says, choose target artifact card in your graveyard, you may cast it. Okay, no, you can't get it back with Emery. You can get this back with Buried Ruin, though. You can get this back with Buried Ruin, right? Yeah, you can get it back with Buried Ruin. I think this card's really good. I think this makes... I think I'm gonna make a Karn deck now, like a Karn deck, but with both Karns. Trade in your bedroom for another land. I know. I don't know. I think this card is really good. Anyway, then we have all the basic lands here, and they actually have flavor text. Oh, they have individual flavor text for each art. That's pretty cool. You trace the tensions in 10 towns to the dwindling reindeer populations, but what has been hunting them? This isn't even a snowland. As a plague ravages the world above, you made your way into the Underdark in search for a fungal panacea. What am I missing? It casts artifacts. As the sun reaches its zenith on the day of the solstice, a castle shimmers into view on the hilltop, just as the ancient text predicted. Nice. The lands have flavor text. Alright. Is that it? Did we finish it already? We finished it. Alright, so my playables in Historic, it's not that much, but I'll go over it real quick as a recap. I'm gonna go over it really quick. I think Eye of Vecna is playable in Historic. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick recap. I think the Monk class is pretty good in Historic. I think Orcus, Prince of Undeath, is really good in Historic too. Not a lot of cards are though. I'm gonna name some that I find here once again if you missed it or if you scrolled through it in the YouTube video here. A lot of the cards are not playable though. Ranger class, no, probably not playable either. Let's go ahead and just skim through this real quick to find you some playables here. I talked about Zariel being fringe playable, but probably not. Unexpected Windfall, fringe playable, probably not. Magic Missile, fringe playable. Everything else is, I mean, Burning Hands was broken. You'll be seeing a lot of Burning Hands. You probably see a lot of Sphere of Annihilation. You'll probably be seeing some Rave Enfeeblement. You'll probably be seeing some, I mean, all these cards are bad. Like, you'd probably be seeing some, I mean, I'm just keep scrolling. You could be seeing Silver Raven, depending on if artifact decks become good or not. You could be seeing oh, you're gonna be seeing a lot of this card. I think the standout card is Demi-Lich. This card probably makes Phoenix just tier 0 in Historic. Also, the white Portable Hole is really good too. Portable Hole's very good. Other than that, I think we're done. Oh, and the Book of Exalted Deeds. I think that's all the playable cards in Historic. So once again, not many playable cards in Historic, but there's cards that make an entire archetypes. There's artifact lands, there's artifact creatures. There's a couple cards for Niv Mizzet Reborn. There's Demi-Lich for Phoenix. There's the Monk class, which is really good, I think, for the white blue control decks. There's also that mono green card, the 2-mana werewolf card. It's insane. The 2-mana werewolf is going to be broken, and I think it's going to make mono green Stompy or some kind of Stompy deck really, really good. There's also that elf. There's the elf that we passed by as well. That is a 3-mana elf that says you gain a green mana for each creature you control. Yeah, they have another one of those. So, if you're watching this from YouTube, I hope you liked the set review. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. See you next time.